Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto destroys everyone in Chunin exams part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Sometimes, a small change can lead up to something big. Even small changes in someone's thought process can alter the plans of destiny and the winds of fate. One such small change turned out to be the impatience of one particular academy instructor in Konoha Shinobi Academy, one instructor who loathed a particular blonde-haired student in his class to no end, almost as much or perhaps more than he would hate the contents of a gutter. This particular Chunin, in his incessant hate for the 11-years-old kid and his simultaneous desire to get richer and more powerful, had devised a plan to have the forbidden jutsu scroll stolen from the Hokage's office by the same student he loathed, no less. What made things even easier for him was the fact that the blonde was despised by most of the adult population of the village, avoided and scorned by most of the kids his age. Though there was one particular midnight blue-haired, lavender-eyed girl who actually loved him, cared for him, admired him, perhaps as much as she loved her younger sister or maybe even more. But she was just too shy to come clean with her feelings. So it was relatively easy for the Chunin instructor to have the blonde framed for the stealing. Nobody would suspect him, he could kill the kid and leave a charred and destroyed scroll by his body. This would leave no doubts in anyone investigating the robbery of the scroll about the kid being the culprit. And he can simply vanish into the lands beyond the final valley, where one particular pedophile shinobi, obsessed with snakes and immortality, would handsomely reward him for the scroll. Ever since Mizuki had thought up the plan, he couldn't wait to implement it. The temptation of power and wealth were just too strong. He had decided that he would approach his pawn when the latter failed the genin exam for the third time, inevitably losing the chance to be enrolled into the shinobi program. That would be the opportune moment, the demon brat would be mentally vulnerable. Insert an evil grin from Mizuki here. The kid had already failed the exam once. He would be appearing for it again tomorrow, as if he could pass. The brat can't get the clone jutsu right, even in his dreams. Then he would appear again, a year later. That would be the opportune moment. But the traitorous Chunin just couldn't wait any longer. His patience was running thin. Suddenly an idea hit him. What if I convince him to steal the scroll tomorrow itself? The kid is dumb, he would definitely fall for it. Tomorrow would be the best time to do it. Why should I wait one more year, putting up with that righteous idiot Iruka and that annoying brat? Mizuki chuckled as he made his decision. The white-haired Chunin could never know that he had just altered the directions of the winds of fate forever. Ian. You evil genius, I don't see any way that this could possibly go wrong for you. Next day, Konohagakure Shinobi Academy. Naruto, make a clone. The instructor with a horizontal scar across his nose ordered. Inwardly hoping sincerely that this time his favorite student would get it right, though the chances of that happening were really low, really low. Naruto fidgeted inwardly. This was the jutsu he could never get right. He glanced around the class. The students before him were those 1 year ahead of him in the academy. None of them were familiar to him. One of the reasons Naruto wanted to pass the genin exam ahead of his own classmates was that most of them fawned over one particular Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto didn't want to be in a team with Sasuke. Sure, he wouldn't mind being in a team with his crush, Sakura Haruno. But deep down, he knew that he would never be able to enjoy her company as well, let alone win her affection. That's why when Iruka-sensei asked them to write who they wanted to spend their last day with, Naruto couldn't write anyone's name. He was sure that no one had written his as well. He just hoped that maybe the students of the preceding year who didn't know him would accept him somehow. However, that glimmer of hope seemed to fade away. Inwardly sighing at his misfortune, Naruto performed the required hand signs for the clone jutsu. Clone jutsu? He yelled, and a puff of smoke later, a very pale and sickly joke version of Naruto, swinging sideways, appeared, immediately fell to the ground and puffed away. Most of the class erupted into laughter. Iruka sighed. Sorry Naruto, you can't pass. Try again next year and try harder. He commented as he put a cross with red marker on the paper having the blonde's details. Naruto slumped, the class was still laughing at him. Iruka, he was able to perform the substitution and transformation well. Can't you cut him some slack? Mizuki suggested as he gave Naruto a sympathetic look. Acting, of course. He just failed in one jutsu. I think he can be passed. No Mizuki. Iruka stated, you know the rules, I can't pass anyone who fails to do all the 3 academy jutsus. I can't show any favoritism. Naruto has failed the test. Iruka left no room to argue. Naruto then just ran out of the room. He knew there was no one to console him. At the same time, the class for Naruto's classmates was suspended. Naruto, sitting on the swing by the academy, watched his friends leave. Shikamaru left with Choji, who was sharing a packet of chips with him. Sasuke left the class, followed by most of the girls of the class, still asking him out for a snack. The most loudmouthed among the girls were Sakura and Ino. Why is he so cool? Why is he always at the top of the class? Why can't I be like him? Why doesn't anyone want to at least be friends with me? Why can't I have a girlfriend? Why can't I be accepted? Will they accept me even if I become Hokage? And how can I become Hokage if I can't get one damned clone right? Why did luck be cruel with me? Why can't I get that one damned jutsu right? Naruto sat up and slammed his fist on the nearby tree. Naruto, don't lose heart. He heard a voice say, and a hand tapped his shoulder. He turned back to see Mizuki, smiling at him with a sympathetic look. Hey, Mizuki-sensei. Naruto half-heartedly greeted. I may not come to class tomorrow, is that okay? You will not need to come to class after today, Naruto. Mizuki replied as he inwardly grinned and began putting his plan in place. For you see, there is a special type of test for students like you, a second chance to graduate, you can say. Naruto's eyes brightened with hope. All may not have been lost after all, there was still a chance. Another test, sensei. Naruto replied, beaming. What do I have to do? Tell me, I will get it done in no time. Hold your horses. Mizuki replied, inwardly very satisfied at the smooth progress of his plan. This is a special test in which you have to perform a task reminiscent of a real-life shinobi mission. You need to infiltrate the Hokage's office and steal the scroll which has a label forbidden written on it. If you can take the scroll and bring it to me in the forest just outside the village, you will pass. Naruto listened it all in excitement, but he didn't want to do something that could potentially upset Hokage Jiji. But sensei, won't Hokage Jiji get mad at me if I steal the scroll from his office, and I don't want to get a scolding from Iruka-sensei either. Naruto asked with a little bit of confusion on his face. Mizuki scowled inwardly, the blonde was very simple at heart and his simplicity could ruin everything. Don't you get it, it's a test, Hokage-sama designed it himself and Iruka is aware of it as well. I am sure they will be proud of you if you pass the test with flying colors. Mizuki replied, trying to appear as reassuring as possible. Now get moving. All the best. You got it, sensei, just you watch, I will get the scroll to you in no time. Naruto replied with a confident smile and ran off. Looking at his receding figure, Mizuki let out a sadistic grin for a moment and then left in the opposite direction. What Mizuki and Naruto hadn't noticed was that a particular blue-haired and lavender-eyed girl, who held a lot of affection towards Naruto, had heard everything they discussed. 15 minutes earlier, when Hinata exited the academy building, she saw her cousin Niji being congratulated by a girl with 2 buns in her hair. Of course, Niji Nai-san passed, he's the clan prodigy after all. Naruto-kun also appeared for the exam today. I wonder how he did, I hope he passed as well. Thinking about Naruto brought a slight blush on her cheeks. I just hope, someday he notices me. Maybe I have to approach him, I have to make myself known to him, but what if he also thinks that I am worthless? Sakura-sen is much cooler than me, she's confident, intelligent, and that's why Naruto-kun likes her, why can't I be anything like her? When would he notice me? When would I get at least one of my wishes granted? Hinata thought as a lone tear escaped from her right eye, she wiped it out and then suddenly spotted Naruto sitting on the swing before the academy, looking down. All her hopes of Naruto having passed the exam were dashed. She walked towards him, debating inwardly about how she should approach him and console him, but finally, like usual, she couldn't bring herself to talk to him. She walked around and went to the back of the tree, the opposite side of where Naruto was seated and settled for observing him. It was then that Hinata heard Mizuki approach her beloved and learned about the alleged second test. Hinata was smart, she hadn't heard of any kind of tests like that, but still, this was their sensei, perhaps they had designed the test especially for Naruto, considering his stealth skills, his pranks, pulled in broad daylight were the testament to it. But the former heiress of the Hyuga clan smelled something fishy. So, she decided to observe the so-called test from a distance. Her skills in stealth were also quite formidable, second only to Naruto himself, considering the number of times she had followed and watched him stalk him without being noticed even once. Unbeknownst to her, this decision of hers would forever alter her fortunes and looking back, she would consider the day or at least the end of it as one of the most significant and defining moments of her life. 3 hours later, in the forest outside Konoha, Naruto sat down near the tree as he let out heavy breaths. He put the big scroll by his side and looked around. This was the clearing Mizuki-sensei told me about. Take that, sensei, I made it 1 hour early, now nobody can stop me from becoming a genin and then Hokage. Dadabayo. Naruto cheered himself. He still didn't notice his shy admirer, stalker who had carefully hidden herself behind a thick bush. The task wasn't easy. Naruto was caught by the Hokage just as he had taken the scroll, but the perverted old man was knocked out with a huge nosebleed when the blonde pulled off his sexy jutsu on him. I hope I wouldn't lose any points for knocking Jiji out like that, Naruto thought. I wouldn't worry too much, the old perv probably enjoyed it. Then took a glance at the scroll beside him. What is so forbidden about this forbidden scroll anyway? Sensei didn't say anything about looking through the scroll, it won't do any harm to take a look and maybe I can learn some cool jutsu from it. Naruto mumbled to himself. He then proceeded to open the scroll and one particular jutsu drew his attention. After carefully studying the required single hand sign, he proceeded to attempt the jutsu again and again until he got it right. An hour later a panting and extremely worried Iruka finally stumbled upon the clearing and found Naruto with his back against a tree. The blonde looked a bit exhausted, he also found the forbidden scroll lying beside him. "Naruto!" The Chunin yelled, getting his attention. Seeing his teacher, Naruto grinned. "See Iruka-sensei, I retrieved the scroll from Jiji's office and even managed to learn a jutsu from it. I managed to do it 1 hour earlier than the assigned time. This means I passed, didn't I?" The blonde asked in excitement. "You poor idiot." Iruka was shocked. "Passed, he is talking as if it was a test, someone must have duped him into stealing the scroll, saying it was a test, I knew Naruto wouldn't willingly do something as terrible as betraying the village." "Passed? What are you talking about, Naruto?" Iruka asked with a serious voice. Hinata, who was listening to the conversation from behind the bush, finally understood how Mizuki had played with her beloved's emotions. For the first time in her life, Hinata wanted to truly beat up somebody. "Stop the act, sensei, I know you know about the second test, Mizuki-sensei told me all about the second test to become genin. He told me that if I could steal the scroll from Jiji, I can become a genin." Naruto asked as nervousness began taking over him and a part of his mind began to understand that all this could be a trap. "To think that you would be able to find him before me, even though I was the one who told him to be here in the first place, some tracker you are, Iruka," Mizuki said from a tree branch, barely hiding his contempt and letting his sadistic persona loose fully. Also displaying the fact that he's a lazy and oblivious idiot. "Mizuki, what's the meaning of this?" Iruka asked angrily. "Naruto, give me the scroll, I don't have much time," the traitorous Chunin ordered. But Naruto took a step back. "Don't listen to him, Naruto, there is no test like that, he used you to get the scroll. Get away from here, I will stop him." Iruka ordered and his favorite student began stepping back. "Don't act so protective over him, Iruka, you know what he is. You know I would be doing the village a favor by killing him," Mizuki taunted. Naruto began shivering. Why would his death be a favor to the village? Sure, nobody liked him there, but he never thought that his mere existence was despised that much. "I know what Naruto is, but you have committed betrayal against the village and even exploited an innocent academy student into committing a crime. Surrender now, or I will be forced to deal with you," the scarred instructor warned. Mizuki only began laughing maniacally. "That brat is anything but innocent, I know you know that as well, he is the thing that killed your parents after all." The Fuma shuriken holding Chunin taunted again. What are you talking about?" Naruto asked with a gulp. "Oh, don't act so ignorant, you filthy demon," Mizuki replied with disdain. "Mizuki, stop it or I will attack you," Iruka warned, but his words fell on deaf ears. "If you really want to know, then listen. 11 years ago the Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked the village, killing many people, including your beloved sensei's parents. The 4th Hokage fought the beast. They say that he killed the Kyuubi, but that's a lie. The 4th Hokage didn't kill the beast. Mizuki, don't you dare. You are breaking the Sandame's law," Iruka warned and even threw a kunai at his former friend. Mizuki tossed blocked with a kunai of his own. He sealed the Kyuubi into a boy born on that day. Naruto's eyes widened at the revelation, so did Hinata's, who also was listening to the conversation. It all began to make sense, the hateful glares, the subtle whispers of Demon Fox, almost whenever Naruto walked across somebody. "Yes, that's right, he sealed the fox into you. You are the Kyuubi. You are the demon that killed hundreds of the village that night. You killed Iruka's parents. You should have been killed that very day. But don't worry, I will fulfill the 4th second's incomplete task right now. Die, demon," Mizuki yelled before untying his Fuma shuriken and throwing it at Naruto. "And you proved how much of an ignorant idiot you are. Try that shit with Killer Bee or Gar or Yujito or Han or Rashi or Yugura or Fu or Utakata, Mizuki, I dare you, I double dare you." The blonde, however, didn't even attempt to move. He had finally understood why he was hated so much, why nobody wanted to do anything with him, why many subtly called him Demon Brat. It made sense that he should just die, at least the people will be happy for that. But a certain girl had already decided that she would protect him at all costs, even her own life if it came to that. At that moment, Hinata's admiration for Naruto grew manyfold as did her love for him. She reacted even more quickly than Iruka could, pushed Naruto out of the path of the shuriken, pushed him into the ground and then rolled down with him before getting up and standing over him with her arms spread horizontally as she gave her former teacher a very defiant look, totally uncharacteristic for her. If you listen close, you can hear the sound of Mizuki unknowingly shitting his pants from a Byakugan death glare. "Oh, look who's here. The little Hyuga princess standing up for the demon. Love is blind indeed," Mizuki said with a chuckle. Iruka and Naruto both were staring wide-eyed at the Hyuga, standing there with a resolve completely unheard of from her. How dare you? If there is any demon here, that's you, Mizuki. Hinata stated, not even bothering to attach any honorific. Naruto-kun is the finest person I've ever met. He stands up for those who he doesn't even know when he sees them in trouble. All this time, he has only sought help people out. He has been mocked, looked down upon, scorned, hated, avoided, discarded like a trash by almost everyone, but he still strives to become the Hokage and serve the very people that have caused him so much pain. The Kyuubi sealed into him makes him even more special, for he is the one that is holding the beast from unleashing havoc in the village and killing us all. He has been protecting us all this time, without getting appreciated for it even once. If doing all that makes him a demon, then I would gladly be called a demon as well, she declared with utter sincerity and without even a single stutter for once. Hinata. This was the only thing Naruto could let out, as he was just too shocked to even form any other words. Iruka looked at the shy girl with a proud smile, as he also took a stance before Naruto. She's right, Mizuki. I do hate the monster fox, but not Naruto. Naruto is my student whom I consider very precious to me. He is not the Kyuubi no Yoko, he is Naruto Uzumaki of Konohagakure. The teacher stated. Tears rolled down Naruto's cheeks as he processed all that was being said there. Alright, if you two want die defending the demon, then so be it. Mizuki stated with a bit of irritation as he took another Fuma Shuriken and launched it, his target being set at Naruto. This time, it was Iruka who acted, taking the projectile on his back. Naruto, Hinata, take the scroll and get away from here, I will hold him. He ordered in distress. No. Naruto stated with conviction. I am not leaving you alone here. Such a considerate brat you are, huh? Mizuki stated as he charged at the blonde, with a kunai in hand. Only to be engaged by Hinata, who gracefully defended Naruto with Gyuukin, Byakugan blazing. Despite being a Chunin, Mizuki was still vulnerable to the dreaded Taijutsu style of the Hyugas. A number of tenketsu on his shoulder ended up getting closed. Hinata kept up dodging violent swings of kunai from the enraged traitorous Chunin, and then suddenly she took a hit as she began tiring out. Ah! The Hyuga screamed in pain when Mizuki slashed her across the shoulder. The slash was deep and she started bleeding. Hinata. Nuo. Naruto screamed in terror. That's what she will get for choosing to stand by you, demon. Mizuki taunted with a devilish smirk. I will enjoy killing this little girlfriend of yours right before you. He added, but before he could manage follow up his words with action, Iruka engaged him in Taijutsu bout. I won't let you hurt my precious students, traitor. The teacher warned. But the big wound on his back, courtesy of the Fuma Shuriken from Mizuki, soon began taking its toll. As he defended himself from Iruka's punches, Mizuki realized that the teacher wasn't able to cover his chest perfectly and was taking time switching from offensive to defensive. You're leaving an opening, Iruka. The traitorous Chunin stated before viciously kicking his former colleague on the chest. Iruka-sensei. Naruto shouted, his glance then shifted to Hinata, who still stood before him protectively. She was holding the wound on her shoulder and was panting hard, she wouldn't last too long either. They are fighting for me and what the hell am I doing watching them get hurt? As anger began building up inside Naruto, barely visible reddish-orange chakra began flowing around him. Mizuki, if you hurt my precious people, I will destroy you. Naruto growled. Oh, really? You are the dead last of the class, what do you think you can do against a Chunin? This. Naruto yelled, bringing his hands into the oh-so-well-known cross-hand sign. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. With a huge puff of smoke, nearly 500 Narutos appeared, covering the whole clearing. All the clones cracked their knuckles. Iruka and Hinata's eyes widened at the sight. To think that he would manage to learn a Jonin-level ninjutsu in an hour, you are really something else, Naruto. The scarred Chunin thought with pride. Prepare yourself, Mizuki. All the clones warned simultaneously before charging at en masse. Although Mizuki was decently skilled in Taijutsu, he had no way of defending himself from such a huge quantity of shadow clones. After 5 minutes, all the clones disappeared, leaving a thoroughly beaten up Mizuki, with several teeth missing and swelling on almost every part of the face. Naruto had even managed to break the traitor's arms which had dared to hurt Hinata and Iruka-sensei. You know what they say, Mizuki, karma's a bitch. Naruto dropped to his knees, panting heavily. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Hinata asked in concern as she raced to his side. The blonde looked at her wounded shoulder. Hinata, why did you? Darkness took over him before he could complete the sentence and he dropped down unconscious. Mental exhaustion finally taking its toll. Naruto-kun. Hinata also collapsed due to blood loss and exhaustion. Suddenly the Hokage, a few Anbu, and Hiashi Hyuga appeared at the clearing via Shunshin. Hokage-sama. Iruka, I know what happened here. Take the 2 kids to safety. Hiruzen ordered and also said an Anbu to accompany the Chunin. Hiashi took a glance at his elder daughter and clenched his fists, controlling himself to keep from showing any emotions. It's okay to show concern for your kid. The General Hospital of Konoha. A patched-up Iruka stood before the third Hokage, the Hyuga clan head and the head of the T&I department, Marino Ibiki, who was there to listen to the Chunin's account before he could proceed to torture interrogate his latest toy. Nice save. Naruto had failed the graduation test for the second time today since he couldn't pull off the clone jutsu. He was really upset. Apparently Mizuki took advantage of his vulnerable mental state at the moment and coaxed him into stealing the scroll by telling him that it was a supplementary test. I have no idea how he managed to steal the scroll though, but when I found him, he had the scroll. The scarred Chunin explained. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, known throughout the shinobi world as the second shinobi no Kami, rolled his eyes. He couldn't just admit that he was knocked out by an academy student who used the perverted version of the transformation jutsu on him. Before I could fully explain to him that this was a farce, Mizuki arrived and went on to reveal the real reason why Naruto is hated so much. Both Hiruzen and Hiashi sighed. Ibiki, give the needed after getting everything out of him, will you? Hiruzen said with a depressed tone. So now he knows about his burden. I am really getting too old for this job. The chief interrogator acknowledged the order with a nod. It wasn't just him that learnt about the Kyuubi, Hokage-sama, Hinata did as well. Hiashi raised his eyebrows. I didn't really want to mention it, but Hinata sometimes follows Naruto and watches him. For some reason, she has come to admire him, and tonight, she was willing to even sacrifice her life to save him. I am her father, I can tell she is in love with him. I also remember how Minato used to stalk around Kushina during the academy. To think that my own daughter would end up following his footsteps. Hyuga-sama, it may not be my place to say this, but I wish you do not stop their friendship from growing. Naruto has been alone for much of his childhood. Yes, he has amiable relations with Choji, Shikamaru and Kiba, but he is yet to make a real friend, and after whatever happened today, he is going to consider Hinata his best friend, if not anything more. It will be too much psychologically damaging to drive them apart, and it will be very much depressing for Hinata as well. When she stood up for Naruto, she showed a never-seen-before degree of determination and resolve to protect the one precious to her. She went up against a Chunin and even managed to weaken him significantly using the Jyuukin. I am sure that by being closer to Naruto, she will be able to grow out of her shell of insecurity and unleash her true potential. Please let them be. The Chunin explained before bowing down with difficulty due to the wound on his back. Please raise your head, Yumino-san. If being together with Naruto helps my daughter get stronger and more confident, I have nothing against them being close. Perhaps it is time that the Hyuga clan stop clinging to traditions from ages long gone and accept that the world has changed and adapt so we might not be swept away with the changing times. In my drive to make her stronger, I drove my daughter into depression and self-loathing. The strict Hyuga discipline simply doesn't work for her. I had even began considering her a failure as a shinobi, but it appears that she's just different. Even with a Byakugan, I failed to see it and all I did was breaking her from the inside all this time. She can be with Uzumaki if that's what she wants, I won't be a barrier in between them. I also know that despite his goofy nature, Uzumaki is a loyal kid who wouldn't dream about hurting those he cares for. The Hyuga clan head stated in a monotone voice, befitting a Hyuga, but Iruka began beaming. Perhaps it will be for the best. Hiruzen said with a hopeful expression. Thank you very much Hyuga-sama. Iruka said with a slight bow. It's my duty as a father to take steps to ensure my child's best interests. However, I might have to intervene if they act beyond their age. I trust my daughter to know the limits and respect them though. Hiashi stoically stated. Considering the fact that Naruto was able to perform a Jonin-level technique and was able to take down a Chunin, I am making him a Genin, and as soon as she recovers, I will be making Hinata a Genin as well, if she just performs the 3 basic academy jutsus, for formality's sake. Understood, Hokage-sama. The collected ninja acknowledged. 2 hours later, as the light slowly adjusted to his eyes, Naruto was able to make out that he was in a room. After all, the dark forest didn't look like this. Where am I? Hinata. Iruka-sensei. The blonde Jinchuriki mumbled as he tried to look around. Then he felt something on his forehead. Upon touching it, it felt metallic. I'm here Naruto. A known voice said. Naruto turned to his side to see his teacher standing by the bed, looking at him with a smile. Are you okay, sensei? He asked as his voice returned to normal. The doctors have already treated me, so there's nothing to worry anymore. The Chunin reassured. And Hinata, she's okay too, right? Naruto asked with worry written all over his face. She is resting in the next room. Don't worry, nothing serious has happened to her. Iruka reassured. Thank Kami. She shouldn't have risked herself for someone like me. That was her decision Naruto, and she considers you her most precious person and has been doing so for a long time. And I want you to know her better. She appears quiet and reserved, but she is a really wonderful person. Iruka advised. Of course, I swear I will know her better, Dadabeo. Naruto promised. There's another meaning to that sentence phrasing in a more archaic context, a more intimate meaning. And I'm sure he will. Good. I'll be holding you to that. I am sure that soon, that loneliness of yours will leave you for good. What's this on my forehead, sensei? And where is your headband? Naruto asked as a small hope formed in his mind. Well, look yourself in the mirror once. Hyuga said with a smile. Naruto obeyed, and as soon as he saw his reflection, his eyes widened. That's why you're. Yes, Naruto. Congratulations on becoming a genin. I am proud of you. Tears of happiness rolled down Naruto's cheeks. Thanks Sensei Adebayo. He said with a grateful smile, but then something hit his mind. But if I deserve to be passed, then Hinata-chan needs to too. I am sorry sensei, I will not accept if she is not passed as well. Whoa, that's some devotion you have there. Don't worry, she will be passed too. And yes, you are free for the next 7 days. Naruto then tried getting up from his bed and did so without any difficulty, considering his exhaustion was more mental than physical. I am going to see Hinata-chan. He said in a low voice and left. As far as Hinata was concerned, her wound had been stitched up. She was also awake and was staring at the roof when the sound of someone gently opening the door made her look there. A few hours ago, Hinata was radiating confidence as she was defending Naruto. She also knew that he would come around asking why she did what she did, but when he finally came, all her confidence went down the drain and a heavy blush took over her face. She didn't even have the words to greet him. Hey, Hinata-chan. How are you? Your face is all red, you have a fever or something? Naruto asked as he ran up to her and put his palm on her forehead to check the temperature. Nope, your temperature seems normal, you shouldn't be having a fever. The blonde mused. Hyuga, who had discreetly followed his favorite blonde to see how the first meaningful conversation between the future couple unfolds, fought hard the urge to fassip him. Naruto, you dense idiot. Please notice her feelings already. Heh, good luck on that. Don't hold your breath on it happening immediately. I am fine, and Naruto K-kun. The Hyuga stuttered out. Hey, progress, you didn't faint at him just touching you. That's good to hear. I don't know what I would have done if something had happened to you there. You shouldn't be risking yourself for some idiot like me, your life is far more important than that. Naruto tried to reason. Only to receive a slap on his cheek. Don't you dare call yourself an idiot again, Naruto-kun. Hinata stated with an unusually serious expression. Hinata Naruto could only stutter out as he held the cheek that was just slapped. Hinata then moved his palm out of there and placed hers in its place. Just like I said there at the forest, you are not a failure. You are not an idiot. You are an admirable person who never gives up irrespective of the odds stacked against you. Even when you fail, you get back up and try again. To me that's what true strength is, to me you are a really strong person, Naruto-kun. To me you are a proud failure. Naruto kept staring wide-eyed at his shy classmate, whom he had never seen talking in such a straightforward way before. Finally, a smile crept up on his lips as he moved forward and enveloped Hinata in an embrace. You know what, earlier I used to think you were a weirdo, but you know what, I like people like you. He said, rubbing her back. Hinata could not help blush heavily. Will you be my friend Hinata-chan? Of course, Naruto-kun. Hinata replied, extremely happy for having at least receiving the attention from the one she loved ever since she had understood what love meant. Now her Naruto-kun was finally within her reach. The kids were discharged the same night. Hyuga also informed Hinata about her chance to graduate together with Naruto by performing the 3 academy jutsus. It was decided that she would be tested 4 days later. Over the next 4 days, while Hinata practiced for the test, Naruto joined her. Thanks to her excellent chakra control, Hinata managed to perform the 3 jutsus within 2 days. She also began helping Naruto with chakra control. The blonde began the tree climbing exercise under her Byakugan enhanced supervision. Guidance or enhanced sight? The answer may surprise you. Yes. However, Naruto began observing the inferiority complex in his best friend. When Hinata began talking about her family, her self-loathing became quite evident, especially when she would talk about her younger sister Hanabi or her cousin Niji. Of course, she was always speaking nothing but praise for them, but Naruto did get what she left unsaid. Why can't I ever be as good as them? He understood this feeling much better than anyone else, since he felt the same way towards Sasuke as well. Why can't I be as cool as Sasuke? Why can't I have any girl wishing to be with me? Why do all the teachers praise him? Why is he so talented? And why can't I ever hold a candle to that talent of his? These questions always popped up in his mind and depressed him. He was amazed by how different but yet how similar Hinata was to him. Hinata-chan, you can say it out loud that you feel inferior to Niji and Hanabi. I feel the same way about Sasuke as well. I also think. Why can't I be like him? But after that incident with Mizuki and after seeing you stand up for me, I have understood something. You acknowledged me, even when I have done absolutely nothing praiseworthy, and when you faced Mizuki, you were really cool and amazing. So, neither do I need to be like Sasuke, nor do you need to be like Neji, Hanabi or even your dad. At least we will always have each other, so don't think so lowly about yourself. Just like you don't like me calling myself an idiot, I don't like it at all if you call yourself pathetic compared your sister or your cousin. But no buts Hinata-chan. You are cool in your own way and you better believe it. Naruto declared, leaving no room to argue. And I also want to receive taijutsu training from you. The blonde added, making his pale-eyed companion widen her eyes in surprise. Nobody had praised her, let alone be willing to learn from her. But if Naruto-kun wanted to learn from her, she would definitely do her very best. I will do my best, she replied, and her blonde nodded with a grin. For the next few hours, Naruto continued with the tree walking exercise as Hinata practiced the 3 academy jutsus again and again. She was to appear for the exam the next day after all. At the end of the day, Naruto had made it up to 75% of the tree's height. He and Hinata were sure that the exercise would be completed the following day. The next day Hinata went to the academy to appear for test, needless to say, she passed with flying colors. Congratulations Hinata, you are a genin now. Hiruka congratulated, offering her a headband. Didn't I tell you that you are awesome? You passed at the same time as Neji. Cheer yourself up a bit. Naruto stated loudly with a grin before running to her and hugging her. The blonde had made it a point to watch her exam and cheer for her. Over the course of the last 4 days, Hinata had managed to not faint after being hugged by Naruto. Though she still blushed a deep shade of red and that likely wasn't going to change for some time. Thank you sensei, Naruto-kun. She stuttered out. In his office, Hiruzen Sarutobi let out a satisfied smile as he watched the scene unfold through his crystal ball. The old Hokage could take relief in the fact that his favorite blonde was no longer alone or friendless, and years of experience told him that Naruto and Hinata were going to be much more than just best friends, and something told him that their bond would transcend lifetimes. I am really happy for you Naruto-kun. I am sure you will discover true happiness with Hinata-chan. My best wishes are with you. The old Hokage thought with a smile. It's good to know that Naruto has found a great friend. I just hope he doesn't make her his pranking partner. That will be really troublesome. A lazy-sounding voice said. Naruto with a Byakugan look out. Yeah, that does sound terrifying. Hiruzen suddenly found himself shivering at the thought Naruto having a Byakugan-empowered partner in his pranks. That duo would be scary, really scary. Careful, you're tempting fate. I hope so too, Shikaku. I hope so too. Hiruzen said under his breath. Hokage-sama, this year, only one group of 3 has any chance of clearing the real genin test, as we already know. However, now 2 more genin who I am sure will pass the test as well have appeared. The only problem is assigning them a jonin. Kakashi would have been really interested in taking Naruto under his wing, and the same goes for Kurenai with regards to Hinata. However, we have assigned a team to Kakashi, and this year Kurenai still needs 1 year experience to qualify to be a Jonin sensei. Hiruzen put his pipe in his mouth and let out a small cloud of smoke as he thought about the situation. The truth was that he didn't expect Naruto to graduate a year early. He had already mentally decided a team for Naruto with his classmate Sasuke and Sakura, with Kakashi as their sensei. His logic was that Naruto was becoming obsessed with getting Sakura's attention, and seeds of a rivalry was being sown between Naruto and Sasuke. And with each passing day, Sakura was turning out to be the loudest and most ardent Sasuke fangirl. The situation between the 3 reminded him of his students who went on to be known as the legendary Sannin. It was also similar to the only team that Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, took as a Jonin. But, just as the winds of fortune had changed their directions forever, so had Hiruzen's thoughts. After witnessing the dynamic between Naruto and Hinata, he had decided that these 2 were better off in a single team. They needed each other's mental support to overcome their own problems. He began understanding that constructive mental support can also become a catalyst for growth. He understood that Naruto and Hinata would strive to become better and stronger, if just for nothing other than being able to protect each other better. That alone was a good enough incentive to get stronger. Also, he realized that although Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochimaru went on to become legendary shinobi, their personal lives became a mess. Something the old Hokage would not even dream of wishing upon Naruto. The wizened old man could see Naruto having a future, a family with Hinata, and he wasn't about to rob him of that opportunity. He made up his mind, Naruto and Hinata were going to be in the same team, no matter what. Now the only problem was to find a suitable sensei and a 3rd teammate for them. He knew Kakashi would be pissed at him for not letting him have Naruto under his wing, but Hiruzen knew he would need Kakashi to be Sasuke sensei and guide him once he awakened his Sharingan. It could have been an option to put Naruto and Hinata in a team with Sasuke, led by Kakashi. But thinking more about such a setup, the old Hokage became more and more convinced that such a team might not work out well. Of course, the rivalry between Naruto and Sasuke could continue, pushing the 2 forward. However, the basis of putting Naruto and Hinata in a team was their extremely supportive attitude towards each other. Putting Sasuke in that equation might make things more complicated between them. Due to his present psychological state, Sasuke was developing more and more of a negative personality, which could harm Hinata's extremely fragile self-confidence if Sasuke ever made any hurtful remark towards her. This could also drive Naruto into full protective mode, eventually leading the team into becoming fragmented with Naruto and Hinata on one side and Sasuke on another. Of course, it was a worst-case scenario, but not a very unlikely one. It may or may not work, and I don't really want to take any risks here. Then Hiruzen thought back about Kurenai. Of course, he could make an exception and allow her a team with the condition that they were to do only D-rank missions for a whole year and not participate in the Chunin exams. That might work. He asked Shikaku for his opinion on the thought. Troublesome, I would like to suggest against it. Kurenai is a Genjutsu specialist. Hinata, due to her Byakugan and Hyuga heritage, is obviously going to become a Taijutsu specialist. She might become good at ninjutsu as well, but I don't think she would ever make Genjutsu her area of expertise. Naruto is a half Uzumaki, and none of the Uzumaki ever were Genjutsu specialists, neither was Minato. So I believe that Naruto would become a master of Fuinjutsu, ninjutsu and possibly Taijutsu. He also has a great tactical mind that is able to make decisions on the go, unlike us of the Nara clan, who tend to strategize our every move before even moving a finger. The boy needs pointers in making pre-battle plans apart from training in his future areas of expertise. I don't think Kurenai can help with any of that, no offense to her. The head Jonin reasoned. Hiruzen gave a nod before putting his pipe back in his mouth and start thinking again. Shikaku went back into reading some other documents. Suddenly the Nara clan head found the Hokage looking at him with an expression that said he has just found a great solution to a problem. He also felt a chill down his spine. Why do I feel like my life is about to become much more troublesome than it already is? He thought with a gulp. A smile crept up on Hiruzen's lips. How do you feel about taking a team again? Shikaku? The old Hokage asked with a smirk. Troublesome. A week after the Forbidden Scroll incident. Hey. Hinata-chan. I missed ya. Naruto greeted his new best friend, who came to the academy, escorted by her father, perhaps for the first time in years. Hiashi allowed himself a small smile at the blonde, which of course went unnoticed, before regaining his stoic Hyuga expression. Naruto's cheerful mood was immediately replaced by dread when he noticed the Hyuga clan head's intense gaze. He gulped and a few beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, much to Hiashi's satisfaction. Why do I feel like he is about to do something terrifying to me? What's his problem? Hello Naruto-kun, I missed YUT too. Nice to see you again. Hinata greeted back with a smile. Hiashi internally hoped his daughter's stuttering problem would be fixed soon, due to the flamboyant blonde's influence. Naruto didn't really know much about manners, but after observing how Iruka-sensei acted around his superiors, he knew that bowing down was a proper way to show respect. Something also told him that it was better if he stayed in the scary-looking Hyuga's good books. So he bowed down to someone for the very first time in his life. Hiashi raised an eyebrow at that. It seems he is intimidated by me to the degree that he considered bowing down. He doesn't do that to anyone, not even Hokage-sama. That's good, as my potential son-in-law, I should have that effect on him. He would consider 10 times before doing any potentially dishonorable thing with my precious daughter. The head Hyuga thought satisfied. Good morning Uzumaki-san. He greeted in a rather intimidating manner, making Naruto flinch. Good morning, Hyuga-sama would work for now and I am Hinata's father. Hiashi stoically stated. Okay. Greetings, Hyuga-sama. Naruto said bowing down again. Hiashi nodded in acknowledgement. My daughter has never had any friends earlier. I am happy that she finally found someone worth befriending. She has always spoken highly of you and I hope that you never let her down. Of course, Hyuga-sama, I can never ever dream of letting Hinata-chan down. She is very precious to me as well. Naruto declared, half afraid, half determined. Hinata internally pouted at her father for trying to intimidate her love. Hiashi nodded at Naruto's declaration and left. At the corner of his eye, he caught another member of his clan staring at his daughter with absolute abhorrence and anger. He sighed. How do I make things right with your son Hisashi? Why did you choose to die that day? You should have just let me go. Your death has driven the main and branch families apart more than ever before and I can't see any solution to that problem, even with my Byakugan. Naruto and Hinata didn't notice the hateful glares of Hinata's cousin. Neji prided himself in being the prodigy of the Hyuga clan. He had even began mastering the dreaded Kaiten, 8 trigrams. Heavenly rotation, the absolute defense technique of the Hyuga, considered impenetrable and something taught only to the main branch. He was also miles ahead of any Hyuga at his age. On the other hand, the clan head's elder daughter was nothing but a disappointment. She was totally opposite of the ideal Hyuga. She also held affections for one kid, one that was despised by the entire village, was good at nothing, and pulled worthless pranks day and night. For Neji, Naruto was even worse than worthless, a failure of the level far below anything worthy of associating with the proud Hyuga. So, it was absolutely appalling for him to see the clan head's daughter admiring the said failure. Perhaps failures belonged with failures, a fitting companionship in his opinion. To see that the said failures had graduated with him 1 year earlier. It surprised him and disgusted him even more. How can the failures succeed and Hinata hadn't even appeared for the exams? Of course, his uncle might have lobbied with the Hokage, how else can a failure like her graduate? Also, the annoying blonde had failed spectacularly, befitting the trash he was, and he also didn't have anyone lobbying for him, so how did he pass? Perhaps the rumors about the Hokage being affectionate towards the boy were true. So the Hokage irresponsibly let his emotion cloud his judgment and let two pathetic failures graduate. Perhaps he would understand his mistake once the two losers were killed in some mission. He would also love to get the point across his uncle and the Hokage through Hinata quitting voluntarily and make them understand that trash like Naruto and Hinata didn't deserve to be in the shinobi program at all. Neji, what are you thinking? We are getting late. Let's go. Tenten's hand on her shoulder brought Neji back from his thoughts. He just made a quick nod and headed inside. After some minutes of merry talking, Naruto and Hinata went into the classroom. Now Hinata noticed the intense glare from her cousin and flinched. Noticing her discomfort, Naruto grabbed her hand. This comforted her a bit. As they passed his seat, Neji couldn't help taunt his cousin. Hinata-sama. He spat with contempt. Even Naruto flinched at the amount of disgust Neji was showing his best friend. I hope you know how dangerous shinobi missions can be. I don't know how you passed, but it would be better if you voluntarily quit the program before you either die or fail in some mission in a manner which would bring dishonor to our clan. He taunted. Oh, go Neji yourself asshole. This pissed Naruto off to no end. He clenched his fists and his grip on Hinata's hand tightened. You better mind your own business, jerk. Naruto spat back. He would have yelled at the arrogant Hyuga a lot more, but after having learnt the story of his father's death and the cage bird seal, he also understood to some extent why Neji was the way he was. That didn't mean he got a free pass at insulting Hinata. Naruto vowed to beat Neji back to senses, but he knew he wasn't ready for that yet. At present the Hyuga prodigy could defeat him easily. You don't have any place in a conversation between two clansmen, you clanless loser. Neji spat and glared at Naruto and even activated his Byakugan to intimidate him. Naruto didn't flinch. Everybody to their seats. Hiruka yelled and used his scary big head jutsu to drive the point across Naruto. The blonde immediately complied and ran to his seat, dragging Hinata with him. After seeing that everyone was on their seats and total silence reigned over the classroom, Hiruka let his features relax. Good morning everyone. As you all know, those of you present here have qualified to join the shinobi program as genin. Today, you will be assigned teams under new Jonin senseis. From today onwards, you will be facing the real shinobi world as you undertake missions for the village's sake. I am sure that you will face many difficult challenges in the days to come, but I am even sure that you will overcome them with flying colors. From today, I will no longer be your teacher, but a fellow shinobi, something I am proud to announce. Hiruka declared as his eyes became teary, but he controlled them. I look forward to working with you all shoulder to shoulder as a fellow shinobi. He declared, and the declaration was met with cheers from some genin, hopefuls, mostly from the civilian side. Now I will announce the teams. Hiruka stated, brought his notepad and began reading out the genin teams. Team 5. Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee and Tenten. Your Jonin sensei will be Mido Guy. Hiruka announced. A shout of Yush was heard across the classroom. Hiruka flinched at the perspective of another guy appearing in Konoha, while Neji and Tenten cursed under their breaths, the misfortune of getting a loud Maden overexcited teammate. I'm done with bad puns, you've earned this one Neji. Hinata had noticed that everyone except her and Naruto were already assigned teams. She didn't understand the meaning behind it. She had never heard of a team of two genin being formed. Does that mean we would not be assigned any teams? What was the meaning of passing us if they didn't intend to assign us any teams? The Hyuga girl thought. I am sorry Naruto-kun, you are being held back just by associating with me. Hinata thought depressed, she was barely holding herself from breaking into tears. Naruto on the other hand had no such depressing thoughts. When he saw that everyone except him and Hinata were assigned teams, he understood that he and she would be in one team. He didn't pay much attention to the unusualness of a squad with two genin. A big grin appeared on his face. Hinata-chan, we are going to be on one team, isn't that amazing? He whispered, breaking her out of her depressing thoughts. It might be true as well. Oh Kami, please let it happen. She prayed. Team 6. Hyuga Hinata and Uzumaki Naruto. Hiruka stopped. This was unusual, really unusual for a team to be made of only two genin. He did a double take on the team assignment slip handed to him from the Hokage's office. There was no mistake, only Hinata and Naruto were on a team. Then he glanced at the name of the jonin put in charge of them. So, he agreed on taking a team after so long, even with all the responsibilities he has, and here I thought he was lazy. Might as well ask him personally if there was any mistake in writing down the list. Before Iruka could declare the sensei's name, Naruto was already swinging his fist in the air, yelling yeah yeah. And hugging a bright red-faced Hinata with his other arm. Shut up loser, you are getting on my nerves. Neji spat. Neji, it's not good manners to refer to your comrades in such a derogatory way. I am letting it slide just this once and I will be having a talk with your Jonin sensei regarding this. Iruka warned. HMMPH. Neji pouted in irritation. Hinata was outwardly flinching, but a rage was building up inside her. Sure, she respected her cousin for his talent, loved him and looked up to him as a brother, but right now he was crossing a bright red line for her. It was one thing to insult her, she could let that slide, but it was another thing insult her Naruto. She vowed to herself that she will get back at her cousin for this. Then she looked at the boy she loved, he showed no expression, he simply didn't give a damn about Neji's insults, having long been desensitized to getting insulted every now and then. Naruto, Hinata your Jonin sensei will be Shikaku Nara. Iruka announced for the pair. Now I will be leaving the class and your Jonin sensei will come and escort you out. I wish you all the very best for your upcoming shinobi career. The Chunin instructor declared and walked away with a smile. Soon after a green blur entered the class. Yosh, my name is Mido Gai, the sublime green beast of Konoha. Sensei of Team 5, here to fan their flames of youth. Follow me, my youthful students. The Jonin, clad in a green jumpsuit declared. Putting a thumbs up with a shine from his teeth. He then rushed out of the classroom in a blur as well. Naruto put his finger in his ears, then snapped his fingers to make sure that he hadn't turned deaf. Wait for me Gai sensei. The student coldly yelled and then blurred out of the classroom as well. Neji let out a pout and then walked off, followed by a slumped Tenten, who went out muttering about nightmarish teammates and sensei. And they call me loud. I should be considered a quiet person compared to that freak, and what the hell did he mean by flames of youth? He whispered to Hinata, who just shrugged. He then lifted a bang of Hinata's hair and poked her ear. I hope you haven't turned deaf, Hinata-chan. He said sincerely. I am fine Naruto-kun. Then other Jonin came one by one and escorted their teams out until there were just 2 teams remaining. One was, of course, our favorite pair and the other were a trio of siblings who will soon be having the misfortune of taking the legendary bell test and getting added to the long list of genin teams having failed it. After 1 hour passed, which Naruto and Hinata passed chit-chatting, a Jonin with a diagonal scar across his face, a small beard on his chin and ponytail hairstyle which made his head look like a pineapple walked in. This guy looks a lot like Shikamaru, maybe he's his dad. Iruka-sensei did say our sensei was a Nara. Naruto whispered to Hinata and she nodded. Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga I have been assigned as your Jonin sensei, meet me on the rooftop. The Nara clan head said before walking out. His expression was suggesting he would rather be anywhere but there. Within 2 minutes, the head Jonin and his 2 students were on the rooftop. The Jonin sighed, muttering something about having to do all the troublesome stuff all over again. So, tell me something about yourself. The elder Nara asked, only for Naruto to roll his eyes over. How about you go first sensei? We don't really know what we are supposed to talk about. The blonde loudly said. Troublesome, alright. My name is Shikaku Nara. I am the head of the Nara clan, father of your classmate Shikamaru. I like reading strategy books and sleeping. The genin pair sweat dropped at that. I dislike people who interrupt my sleep. My hobbies are playing shogi. I don't particularly have any more dreams, I am already the head Jonin and I have a nice family. I just wish for my son to act more responsible and I also hope to see my students end up as great shinobi. Shikaku concluded. Sensei, can you tell us something? How did you get that lump on your head? Naruto asked before even getting Shikaku's response, making the head Nara sweat drop. He nursed said lump that had appeared on his head courtesy of his wife's frying pan. He was just unfortunate enough to have overslept that day and when his wife Yoshino woke him up, he made the blunder of calling her troublesome woman. Poor Shikaku didn't even get a second to apologize and explain that he was half asleep, the frying pan was already slammed on his head. The head Nara, known over the elemental nations for his wit and intelligence, couldn't still figure out from where did the dreaded pan appear on his wife's hand every time. He had considered checking her wrists for some seals, but then had let it pass, thinking it was just too troublesome. My wife can be a little troublesome at times. Shikaku replied with another sigh. Now how about you? He said pointing to Hinata. He had noticed that Naruto was eager to introduce himself, but the blonde must learn to be patient as well, starting from today he will. Hello, my name is Hinata Hyuga. I like P pressing flowers, C cinnamon rolls and S spending tea time W with N Naruto-kun. I dislike people who judge others without understanding their troubles and bullies. My dream is to be a strong ninja like my father and kind like my mother. I also dream of having a family someday. Hinata said, saying the last part with a small blush and a sideways glance at Naruto, which the blonde obviously failed to notice. You next. Okay. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen and spending time with Hinata-chan. My dislikes are bullies, arrogant people who look down on others, and the 3 minutes it takes to wait for instant ramen to get ready after pouring hot water in it. My dream is become the greatest Hokage ever and having a nice loving family. Naruto exclaimed but uttered the last part about the family with a low voice. He even sneaked a small glance at Hinata. She noticed it and her eyes widened. It made her very happy, though she was not sure what exactly Naruto's feelings for her were. She knew he considered her his best friend, but now there was a possibility that she might mean more to him. She decided to let him take his time and figure his own feelings out. She was ready to wait for him, as long as he wanted. Shikaku witnessed it all, and his big brain processed everything instantly. Intriguing kids. Hinata has severe confidence issues, and she is strongly in love with Naruto. It was pretty clear from how she acted in front of Mizuki. She can break out of her shell if he is in danger or pain as well. Naruto, well, he is a lot like Kushina was. He dreams of being Hokage, just like his parents. He yearns for acknowledgement, but perhaps not as much as he did before. He is also starting to fall for Hinata. Troublesome, but I have the feeling that they will go a long way. I hope Hiashi won't become a pain in the ass if the two become a sappy couple under my watch, which the possibility they will is quite high. Why am I doing this again? It's really all too troublesome. Okay. There are several issues with the two of you that need to be worked upon. Usually, after team assignments, we conduct a true genin test and assess the actual readiness of the genin for shinobi missions, failing which they are sent back to the academy. Shikaku explained, and as expected, Naruto and Hinata had fearful and tensed expressions on their faces. However, you two have turned out to be a special case. Your cooperation and combat readiness were verified during the Forbidden Scroll incident, so you don't need to pass that test. The two genin visibly relaxed at the news. Instead, we will start taking missions from tomorrow. Hell yeah. Naruto cheered, raising his fist. Hinata for her part just gave a satisfied smile. See you at the Hokage's office tomorrow. 7:30 sharp. Shikaku ordered before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. With you probably having another lump from Yoshino, how does a lunch at Ichiraku sound to you? My treat. Naruto suggested cheerfully. That's sure thing, Naruto-kun. I have a feeling that he passed us because he thought it would be too troublesome to conduct a test, Dadabayo. Naruto whispered to Hinata as they walked towards the Ichiraku ramen shop. That might be true, and Naruto-kun. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. Hinata whispered back. Well, if he continues to be a lazy ass sensei, I will beat that laziness out of him. Dadabayo. Naruto declared, making Hinata giggle. Meanwhile, on his way to the Hokage's office, Shikaku Nara felt a chill down his spine and couldn't resist the urge to gulp. I have the feeling that my life is about to become way much more troublesome than I expected it to be. I also have the feeling that somehow they figured out one of my reasons for not conducting a test. The Nara clan head let the feeling slide and continued towards his work. Unusual morning in the Nara household. 8:30 a.m., Shikaku's house, Nara clan compound. The head jonin was to go to the academy and take charge of his assigned genin team. When he told his wife Yoshino about the assignment last night, the Nara matriarch couldn't contain her excitement. She was ecstatic that her husband was going to take Kushina's son and Hitomi's daughter as students. She had been worried about Naruto's lonely childhood for years, and the village leadership blocking anyone who knew the truth or had anything resembling goodwill for the boy from adopting the blonde didn't help her weariness either. She had also heard bits and pieces about how her late friend's daughter was being bullied and mistreated by her clan's elders just because her humility and kindness didn't sit right with the clan. But alas, her husband had been unable to do anything about it until Shikaku was assigned to train those two kids, that is. Before calling it a night, Yoshino had warned her husband to never slacken the kids' training. Shikaku accepted with a simple and lazy nod. And this morning, he had the audacity to sleep late. He was supposed to get to the academy at 9 o'clock, and here he was sleeping without a care in the world. Shikaku, just last night you promised not to slack off while training Naruto and Hinata, and on the very day you were supposed to take charge of their training, you dare sleep late. How dare you? The Nara matriarch thought with growing rage, looking at the sleeping form of her husband. She had gone there to call him for breakfast. For the time being, Yoshino kept her rage in check and decided to gently wake Shikaku up. She gently tapped his shoulders, then caressed his face a bit before softly tapping his head. Shikaku, dear, get up, you are getting late, you are to take your team assignment today, get up. She softly, while gently shaking her husband. Finally, after a couple of minutes, Shikaku slightly moved and yawned, half opening his eyes. Seeing that her husband was getting up, Yoshino shook him a bit again and softly asked him to get up. Yawn, let me sleep, I don't wanna get up so early, troublesome woman, yawn. Shikaku mumbled, half asleep. What did you call me? Yoshino asked in a very serious but low tone as the temperature of the room fell considerably. Hearing that tone, Shikaku's sleep vanished. Yoshino, honey, I am so. Bam, the frying pan was slammed on the Nara clan head's head faster than he could mutter an apology. Wake up. Now. Yoshino shouted. Meanwhile, Shikamaru, who had gotten up and was sitting on the table waiting for his parents to start their breakfast, heard the ruckus from his parents' room. Troublesome. He muttered with a sigh. 20 minutes later, having brushed his teeth and taken a shower, Shikaku sat down at the dining table with a huge lump on his head, while a significantly calmed down Yoshino sat on the chair to his left. Dad, I heard Mom say that you were going to the team assignment, are you taking a team? Shikamaru asked. Yes. Responded Shikaku with a sigh. Now Shikamaru was definitely interested, he knew just how talented and brainy his father was and was very interested in watching how his father functioned as a genin team instructor. Mind me asking which students would be in your team? Is Niji one of them by any chance? I mean, I have heard of him being called a genius. Shikamaru mused. Shikaku shook his head. No, it's two of your classmates. Naruto and Hinata. Shikaku stated plainly. Shikamaru dropped his chopsticks and stared at his father with wide eyes and open mouth. He never saw that coming. Naruto, he passed. Shikamaru said in disbelief, though he was happy for his friend as well. And I don't think Hinata took the test, he added. Well, in short, they helped capture a traitor and were passed as a reward. The specifics are classified for non-shinobi for the time being, so I'll tell you the details after you've passed. Shikaku stated. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Though I can tell you that Hinata did give the test 3 days ago and passed, Naruto wasn't needed to pass the test since he was able to learn a jutsu, one far more difficult than those required to pass the academy. Shikaku explained. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Troublesome, I am sure the traitor is Mizuki-sensei. Iruka-sensei told us 6 days ago that Mizuki-sensei won't be taking classes anymore. And considering Mizuki, I think he must have tried to fool Naruto into doing something wrong and get punished. It's not that difficult to notice that he didn't like Naruto at all. And perhaps Naruto and Hinata turned the tables on him somehow. I don't know how they did it, but with Naruto, you can always expect these unexpected things happening. Shikamaru plainly stated. Shikaku smirked, proud at how quick his son was able to deduce the whole Mizuki affair, even without being offered any concrete clues. I am not authorized to confirm your hypothesis, son. He said, smirking. Well, that was it, Shikamaru's reasoning was 100% on the mark. He nodded with a small smirk of his own. Then another realization hit him. His dad would be training Naruto. His dad would have to keep Naruto of all people reined in. As soon as that realization hit him, Shikamaru couldn't help start giggling, and then he began laughing when he started imagining the pranks Naruto would be playing on his father. Dad, don't try pissing him off too much, Shikamaru stated with laughs, but then his mother's fist crashed on his head. Well, your reasoning skills are quite impressive, I find you utterly lacking in enthusiasm, Shikamaru. Why didn't you take the test with your friends? I am sure you could have passed easily. Yoshino said angrily. Now Shikamaru also had a lump on his head like his father. He sighed, nursing said lump. Troublesome, I wanted to graduate with Choji, and I really didn't think Naruto would pass this time, otherwise I would have considered appearing too. Shikamaru stated with a sigh. Fine. Yoshino responded. Alright, I'll be off then. Shikaku stated, having finished his breakfast. Have a good day, Shikaku. Yoshino replied as cheerfully as she could. Shikaku replied with a nod before leaving for the academy, while Shikamaru soon followed after nursing the head injury. Both shivered internally and thought, troublesome woman, but Shikamaru had an added thought. I hope whoever I end up with isn't this much of a pain. Over in the land of wind, a blonde fan mistress sneezed, presuming it was just from dust kicked up from her latest practice. Had to be the best she could as a new genin of Suna. The next day, Naruto and Hinata reached the Hokage's office at 7:30 in the morning. They found that Shikaku-sensei was already there. Upon seeing his favorite blonde, Hiruzen gave an affectionate smile. Hey Jiji. Naruto greeted the old Hokage, whom he considered a grandfather. Hinata bowed down to greet her sensei and the Hokage. So, I am here for my first mission. Get ready to hand over the hat to me, I will get there in no time. Databeo. Naruto exclaimed with a grin. Well then, Naruto-kun. I do have a good enough mission for you, I am sure you won't be disappointed. Hiruzen said with a reassuring face, he fought hard his urge to chuckle. He then motioned for Iruka, who was also there, to hand the two kids their mission scroll. Oh, hey, there Iruka-sensei, didn't see you were here. Naruto greeted. So what kind of mission am I going to have, saving a princess, saving people from pirates, Naruto continued his excited rambling. Hold your horses, Naruto, this mission is not as difficult, but I am sure you will enjoy it. Iruka said with a smile, he handed the scroll to Hinata though, who accepted it with a bow. You two can go ahead, I'll catch up in 10 minutes. Shikaku said. Alright sensei, first mission here I come. Naruto declared in excitement and dragged Hinata, who began blushing, out with him. An hour later, Naruto's eyebrow twitched once, then twice, then thrice and finally 4 times. Damn you Jiji. You dare call this a shinobi mission? Painting fences. What the hell is ninja like in this? Why couldn't you demand something like an actual mission, lazy sensei? Naruto yelled, holding a paintbrush at his sensei, who had found a nice rock to lie down upon and watch clouds. The experienced Nara didn't even bother answering. On closer inspection, the 2 genin understood that their sensei was napping. How dare he nap? He gives us this lame and stupid mission, and when I said I will do it in 5 minutes, he said no shadow clones allowed. Damned lazy sensei, get the hell up. Naruto yelled in frustration and upon getting no reply, tossed his paintbrush at Shikaku only for him to vanish in a puff of smoke. Naruto's eyes began twitching again. He says no shadow clones to me and sends his own to the mission. Naruto exclaimed in frustration. Only after Hinata placed her hand on his shoulder did he stop ranting. I know it is annoying, but we should still complete the mission. It won't be good for a future Hokage to have incomplete missions on his records. She reasoned in a low voice. Naruto looked back at her with a smile. You really believe that I can make Hokage, Hinata-chan? Oh of course, and Naruto-kun. I am sure you will make a great Hokage. Thanks a lot, Hinata-chan, you really are the best. He said, holding her shoulders. A tinge of red appeared on her cheeks. Now let's get this mission over with, Dadabeo. He declared, raising his fist in the air. But sensei has just got his name written on my to-be-pranked list. He declared again in a low voice and a grin. Hinata nodded in agreement. Once the mission was over and our favorite genin were back in the Hokage's office, Naruto gave Hiruzen a dark look, making it clear that he was pretty much pissed off, and a look that promised a prank that would mean pain. The Hokage wondered what was keeping the boisterous blonde from lashing out. One look at Hinata gave him his answer. The Hyuga was somehow managing to hold Naruto's hand without passing out. Which was keeping him under control. Trying to be a gentleman and impress the girl, eh? Naruto-kun. Didn't expect that from you so soon. Hiruzen inwardly chuckled. His decision to put the 2 on a team was doing wonders. Naruto then looked at his sensei and groaned, rolling his eyes. Shikaku sweat dropped, these kids were proving themselves to be a handful. He looked over to the man who was his boss and the reason of his current predicament. I know, this was all your plan to interrupt the small amount of time I get to watch clouds and nap. Scheming old man. Well, now that the mission is over, let's do a bit of training. Shikaku suggested. Naruto's expression immediately changed from irritation to excitement. Now if you could excuse me, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen nodded, granting permission. And these are the rest of the documents that need to be looked over. Shikaku said, barely hiding a smirk. Hiruzen paled, looking at the mountain of paperwork. He then looked over to his own table and saw another huge pile of paperwork. The old Hokage began to tremble and looked at his Jonin commander with a frightened face. The Nara gave a small smirk before turning to leave. You are doing this knowingly, aren't you, Shikaku? What did you expect, Hokage-sama? You think you can ruin the little time I have for cloud watching and napping and get away with it? You think you can just give me who is perhaps the most troublesome genin Konoha has ever produced as a student and not expect consequences? Well, too bad for you, now you get to deal with the double paperwork, Hokage-sama. Although I was considering telling you the secret to beat that Cage's bane, but I have changed my mind. The Nara clan thought as he exited the Hokage office with a devilish grin pasted on his face. At the same time, in hell, a particular Uchiha clad in red armor and long spiky hair sneezed, so did one particular pale-faced pedophile obsessed with snakes somewhere in a Togakur and somewhere in an underground base, one particular member of a certain clan of immortals who was now possessing the body of a certain monk also sneezed. Training Ground 8. Once in the training ground, it was quite obvious that Naruto was totally impatient to get started, but still just for Hinata's sake perhaps, was acting a bit reasonable. Before getting started, Naruto, I think your temper could use some work. Although it was just a D-rank mission and a paintbrush that you threw at me, such attitude can land you in trouble in case of much riskier missions. The Nara clan head cautioned, his expression making it clear that he was not at all bothered by being thrown a paintbrush at. Wait a minute. That was your clone I threw the brush at. How the hell did you know what happened, sensei? I didn't tell you and there's no way Hinata-chan would betray me. Naruto exclaimed. Nice point, kid. And you're right, your cute girlfriend didn't tell me, of course. Naruto's cheeks reddened at the tease, and Hinata's face did the best impression of a tomato. Hey, WERN not Naruto began stuttering and making excuses. Okay, we will see. But the point is that it wasn't Hinata that told me, I simply got the memories of the clone when it dispelled. Shikaku exclaimed. Naruto's eyes widened. What? When you read about the shadow clone jutsu from the Forbidden Scroll, didn't you read the theories related to it? Well, I kinda only looked at the hand signs and the instructions about chakra channeling. I skipped the rest. Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. I figured as much. Shikaku said with a slight sigh. Well, now you know. And we have one more thing to train you about. Since you want to be Hokage someday, you should have the patience to read theories. You will be dealing with a lot of paperwork and you must be able to read a lot, perhaps all day. Being Hokage isn't just about being some badass warrior. It's a lot more. The head Jonin explained. Naruto listened to the explanation wide-eyed. A small part in his mind even questioned if his dream was worth it, but such thoughts were immediately quashed. As if reading and paperwork can stop him from getting the hat. Well, he knew Hinata-chan could help him out, he had seen her reading stuff many times in the academy. Yeah, no big deal. That's no big deal. Naruto declared with a thumbs up. Anything to be Hokage. Shikaku smiled, the kid did have some drive in him. Fortunately, we are not dealing with theories or books right now. Naruto's features relaxed a bit. I have learnt that you two have learned tree walking. I want a demonstration. The order was immediately followed and in almost no time, Naruto and Hinata were on top two adjacent trees. That's good, now we will move to next part of it then. You are going to learn water walking and Naruto, I want you to use 30 clones for the exercise. Dispel the clones after an hour and then make another group of 30 clones. Hinata, I am sure can manage it herself due to her excellent chakra control. Now get to work. Hi sensei. Both preteens acknowledged and got to work. Shikaku excused himself to the branch of a nearby tree. Until these kids begin C-ranks, I can get some more sleep and relaxation from that damned paperwork. The head Jonin muttered himself and dozed off in almost no time. After 6 hours, Naruto and Hinata walked to the bank and collapsed, totally exhausted and of course soaking wet. I am sorry Hinata-chan, I have to take off my jacket and my shirt too it seems. Naruto said with a sigh. Hinata's cheeks immediately reddened. She had never seen her longtime love bare. As Naruto took off his jacket and shirt and laid the shed-soaked clothing and himself down on the grass, all while the Hyuga fought her urge to faint, both to try and begin overcoming her nervousness around her love and not wanting to pass the opportunity to take in and memorize every aspect of Naruto's body that she could see. Then she realized that even she was totally drenched and had to take off her baggy jacket which had become a nuisance. I think I have to take off my JJ jacket to Naruto-kun. She stuttered out with a deep red face, Naruto's cheeks reddened as well, he could only nod. If you are uncomfortable with it, I will go somewhere else, don't worry. He offered. At some corner of his mind, he wanted to see Hinata take off that jacket of hers. He turned away from her and shook his head to quash any perverted thoughts. I don't even understand I want her to take off her clothes before me, what's happening to me? I absolutely don't mind you being H here, besides it's just the J jacket. Hinata reassured with a smile, of course her face was still red, but she did want to take off her clothes for him. Turning her attention back to herself, she elegantly unzipped the baggy jacket, took it off and put it aside. When she looked at Naruto, she found him staring at her, his cheeks were red. For you see, under the jacket, she wore a tight t-shirt with short sleeves. Naruto could notice that his best friend had for some reason begun growing up a little earlier. He gulped. Hinata allowed herself an inward smirk, Naruto liked what he saw. Of course, she also liked his well-toned body, heck she even wanted to caress him all over, but she couldn't bring herself to it, not right now. But still what she was getting now was more than enough. She lay down on the grass and let the wind dry her off. Naruto couldn't help stealing glances at Hinata. What he didn't know was that Hinata was also stealing glances at him when he was not looking at her. When Shikaku got up from his awesome nap, he went to check on his genin and stumbled upon an interesting scene. Being soaked from head to toe, Hinata and Naruto had chosen to take off some clothes, Naruto had discarded his jacket and mesh t-shirt, and Hinata had chosen to take off her jacket. And now the kids were stealing glances at one another. I wonder what Hiashi would have to say about this. Hopefully he won't go mad and chase Naruto all over the town holding his family sword in hand. Perhaps I should allow them a few more minutes, it's almost sunset now, and I will have to send them home for the day as well. Then Shikaku allowed his students 15 more minutes to observe each other before letting out a cough. His students jumped up. Hinata's cheeks reddened up. So, students, how did the water walking practice go? Sensei, Hinata-chan got it down in 3 hours, then she helped me with her Byakugan. I worked with the clones just like you said, and it was really awesome, I got their experiences and got the water walking down in 6 hours. That's good. The Nara clan head said nodding. Hinata has excellent chakra control. She could do well with medical ninjutsu. The Hyuga nodded enthusiastically. Even Naruto was happy at the mention. As for you Naruto, it seems the shadow clone training method works well with you, so we'll be working with you on this method from here on out. The blonde nodded happily. Now you two are dismissed for the day. Tomorrow same place, same time. Shikaku said before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Well, at least the training made up for that lame and stupid thing called mission. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have a better mission. Naruto commented as he put on his relatively dried shirt and jacket. Hinata nodded in agreement. Well, to say the least their hopes were about to be painfully dashed. The next day afternoon, a fat lady began crushing air. Tightly hugging the poor cat who couldn't even get a meow out in protest. Naruto and Hinata, both fully covered in numerous scars, having pieces of their clothes torn up, couldn't help look at the creature in sympathy. Oh, my poor Tora, where did you vanish my baby? Oh well, let's go home now and be a good boy. The cat called Tora only hissed in response. Naruto and Hinata only fidgeted in response. Once Madame Shijimi, the feudal lord's wife, exited the Hokage's office, Naruto turned his gaze back to the old man. Digi, he hissed out. Look, Naruto-kun, I am sure you must have learned something. You called this a mission. What was that? Payback for all the pranks I've pulled. That stupid cat could have literally killed me 1,000 times. Some mission it was. Next time you send me to get that cat, I will let it loose right here in your office. Hinata nodded at the warning. I swear that. Databeo. And that thing you call it a cat. That thing is a monster belonging in the leagues with the Kyuubi. Maybe even worse. The Hokage sighed, he knew Naruto would throw a rant like that. Although the said rant contained a warning about letting Tora loose on the Hokage's office the next time he was assigned that mission. The Hokage shivered at the prospect of Tora being let loose in his office. Shikaku also gulped at the thought of it. But I am interested to know how did you two manage to catch Tora? You managed it without a full team and within 2 hours. That's a new record. No team has managed to capture him in less than 3 hours. Hiruzen inquired. Naruto only rolled his eyes back. Flashback. So today we have to catch some runaway cat with a scratched ear and a red ribbon around its neck. Should be a piece of cake. Right, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. I think so too, Naruto-kun. The genin then looked at their sensei and saw that he had a small smile on his face, a smile Naruto recognized to be similar to the one he would wear when any victim of his was about to get pranked. I have a bad feeling about this, Hinata-chan. He whispered to his bestie, who only offered a reassuring smile in return. Well, if anything bad were to happen, they will go through it together. Really now, Padawan Naruto. Team scramble. Shikaku ordered and the genin took to the trees. 45 minutes later, I have spotted a potential target 500 meters west. The size is about right and I can also make out a small cut on its ear. Hinata informed her teammate and sensei. Alright kitty, here we come. Naruto grinned at the prospect of completing the mission, but the bad feeling in his gut remained. The two genin and their sensei reached the spot Hinata had observed with her Byakugan. Alright, cut on the ear, red ribbon around the neck, a perfect match. Target Tora identified. Naruto, since you are the closest to the target, it's your job to capture and try to be a little discreet. Shikaku cautioned. A part of his mind cried in sympathy, but another part just wanted to see how the master prankster would take to being pranked hard. Naruto jumped down and very silently approached the said cat. Alas, just when he was about 4 feet from his target, Tora turned back and spotted the blonde. He hissed and let out a growl and then crouched. A part of Naruto somehow understood that he would be fucked up badly should he go ahead, but he was a responsible shinobi and he had a mission to complete. Naruto dived at Tora and managed to grab him. He then found out just why the capture Tora mission was called the Genin's Bane. Tora violently swung his paws around and viciously scratched Naruto wherever he could, he even torn parts of the blonde's jacket. Naruto screamed in pain, but Tora didn't let up. In concern, Hinata also made her way to her teammate in love. Just then, Tora managed to free himself from Naruto's clutches and made a dash, unfortunately in Hinata's direction. Determined not to let Naruto down and fail the mission, the former Hyuga heiress also dived and managed to grab Tora and then soon ended in a very similar predicament to Naruto's. However, she somehow managed to land a chakra-enhanced strike, which luckily hit Tora on a pressure point, forcing him to limp. But Hinata couldn't take up the torture and threw the cat toward Shikaku after letting out a girlish shriek. The genin then had a slight hope that their sensei would somehow catch the cat. But as soon as Tora was close to Shikaku's face, he again began scratching violently and Shikaku vanished in a puff of smoke. Tora then limped away. Naruto and Hinata stared at the ground where their sensei stood a few moments with incredulous expressions on their faces and then a shout of "How dare he send a shadow clone again? And why is this fucking mission not S rank?" was heard all over Konoha. In the Hokage tower, Hiruzen and Shikaku shivered a bit, they knew a troublesome rant was on its way to them. Since Hinata had managed to land a lucky Gyuukin strike on the monster cat, Tora couldn't get anywhere far and soon two very pissed off genin were upon him. This time, Naruto again grabbed Tora, hoping to let Hinata avoid the vicious predicament. With his functioning 3 legs, Tora again began making scratches on Naruto's face. Then Hinata got to him and began caressing Tora's fur, letting her frustrations on him slide for the time being in favor of trying to cut Naruto some slack. Her efforts worked, somehow Tora calmed down. Seeing that, Naruto also began caressing him. In a few minutes, Tora was purring and meowing like a good and obedient cat. The genin let out a sigh. Hinata-chan, I am pranking both Sensei and Jiji for this, and really hard at that, you with me? Of course, Naruto-kun. Count me in. Hinata replied with an uncharacteristically determined voice. They then made their way to the Hokage's office. Upon seeing how his owner treated him, Naruto and Hinata internally agreed with Tora's behavior. Saraku, a week before Mizuki launched his plot a year early. Tamaki giggled as she leapt along. It felt so liberating to leap along, be it in the forest's trees or the buildings of the abandoned city she and her grandma called home. There had been little to do growing up here, acting as protectors to the Uchiha supply base, with the side gigs of serving as a slightly less grey and more in the wide alternative to the black market and breeding cat Ninkin, oddly enough. Nekomata's underling and other summoned cats liked to swing by for various reasons. And Tamaki took advantage of it to learn all she could. A few good trades, some favors, and the occasional more underhanded agreement had netted the young girl enough information to start training at a young age and quite the library of cat-based techniques to practice with to build a style. Add in Denka and Hina sticking around to act as protection and being more than willing to lend their aid, and Tamaki was able to achieve a level comparable to fresh genin. Lacked the general education but living out here, street savvy mattered far more. Tamaki stopped and sniffed the air after sensing something wrong, and her eyes widened as a copper scent hit her nostrils. She rushed to the source and found the scene of a skirmish. The Ryuchi cave snake lay dead, gutted by its opponent, a large feline of indeterminate species. Tamaki rushed to the corpse of the cat and began inspecting. Female, no younger than 10, broken claws and fangs, still in age to have kids, death by disembowelment that's odd, Tamaki mumbled. Ryuchi cave snakes tend to be very poisonous to the point where most poison-resistant species can't resist. This girl has clear snakebite marks, but is suffering no signs of suffering from envenomation. Tamaki walked to the snake and began examining the carcass, but this guy clearly is. What the hell kind of cat are you and why were you so willing to fight to the death with a snake? Tamaki thought for a moment before a soft meow hit her ears and her face dropped as she began scrambling to find the source. Tamaki ran and found a young kitten, the same indeterminate species as the presumed mother. Too young to be ready to open its eyes, but clearly old enough to be at least a week old. Tamaki suppressed her horror as her mind reminded her that cats were typically born in groups. Tamaki cradled the cat carefully, made note of the area and placed a few distinguishing features, and then ran home. To say she was embarrassed when she almost knocked over a man wearing a black cloak with red clouds embroidered onto it, with a black ponytail just barely poking out below the straw hat was a minor understatement, but the man seemed more amused than anything. Tamaki knew she recognized a slight red glow coming from his eyes, but the tassels of the hat kept her from seeing anything distinctive. Tamaki managed to gasp out quickly. Ba-chan. There was a fight between a snake and this kitten's mom. I think this little one might have had siblings, but the snake killed them. The mom managed to kill the snake or fatally injure it before dying. The man stood stiff while Nakoba began attending to the foundling. A snake. How big? Tamaki caught her breath and answered. It had to be a Ryuchi cave snake. As big around as I'm tall. The red glow intensified for a moment. This has Orochimaru written all over it. Like he's trying to cut off available resources for myself or my little brother to ensure we fall into his hands. I assume the kitten's mom died from poison. Tamaki shook her head. I checked, the mom died from blood and organ loss. The snake's poison never took on her. But the snake was affected by a fast-acting and highly damaging poison from the mother cat. Both Nakoba and the man blinked and shared a glance. Nakoba spoke. Tamaki, are you certain the venom in the snake came from the cat and not the snake or some other animal? Tamaki nodded. Fairly certain. I've never seen a cat like the mother to this kitten before. The man removed his hat and Tamaki recognized the man immediately, even if it had been quite a while. Itachi Uchiha. Itachi's eyes bore into Tamaki. Lead us to the skirmish site. Tamaki nodded. Nakoba chuckled. Seems some of your innocence still survives to this day, Itachi-kun. Never could leave a little one in pain or need alone. This cute little girl may be quite thankful once she is able to be trained. Tamaki stared. The kitten is a girl. Nakoba nodded. Indeed. And you have a duty to her since you were the one who rescued her. Tamaki nodded happily. Nakoba called out. Denka, Hina. Come here. We need to see if more snakes are in need of being dealt with. The two ninja cats hopped up to the old cat lady and soon the group of 5 were at the skirmish site. Nakoba looked at the mother cat. I haven't seen a cat like this before either. It seems to be a species of tiger almost, but Tamaki's observation is correct, it seems. Very good work with a new and never documented before species of feline, granddaughter. Tamaki shyly scratched her head at the praise. Itachi nodded as he pulled out a kunai and began drawing blood from the snake carcass. It's easy to make simple mistakes in brand new situations where one is blazing a trail to potential new knowledge. Itachi pulled the blade out and inspected the miscolored blood, his eyes narrowed, and he pulled a paper out of his cloak and wiped the fluid onto it. Itachi stared for a moment before he spoke. Interesting, he said little else before he walked to the cat's corpse and looked closely. He took out a similar paper, wiped it against a broken tooth, and observed for a moment before he spoke again. Very interesting. Tamaki's observation was correct, it would seem the poison is a venom produced by this tiger. Tamaki looked expectantly. And what's so interesting about it? Itachi followed up. The poison erodes chakra. It attacks chakra like it would organic material. I've only seen 2 poisons like this, but both were manufactured, a drug produced by Suna and a toxin used by Kiri. But this cat species naturally produces a similar poison that acts far quicker. Natural defenses made to protect these creatures from their own venom would undoubtedly give them a great deal of resistance to lesser venom. Tamaki was about to speak when a sharp hiss sounded and a snake lunged at Nakoba, swiping Denka and Hina away as it rushed past them to the white and purple tiger kitten. Damn bastard cat. Couldn't die with the rest of your litter, could you? The damn whore you call a mother took out my father trying to protect you. I'll make sure it was in vain. Die. The small summoned snake hissed in anger. Tamaki didn't even have a moment to think before she blurred into motion, stopping the snake mere millimeters away from reaching its target. The snake was so focused on killing the kitten it didn't even notice he had been pinned. Didn't notice a pair of small hands clasp its head and neck. Didn't notice the surprising amount of force that applied at those points. Crack snap. The young snake only noticed after hearing a loud crunch and its body going limp. Tamaki panted as her heart pounded, her stomach churning as if she were about to throw up. Her first real taste of adrenaline in a high-tensity situation left her world spinning, her sense vaguely aware of the world around her, before a sound caught her attention. Meow. Tamaki looked at the kitten she had rescued and saw that it had opened its eyes, revealing orange irises with slit pupils. Meow. The cat struggled in Nakoba's embrace, almost as if it was trying to get to someone else. Meow. Nakoba smiled. Looks like this little one has decided who its new mother is. Tamaki. Tamaki looked at her hands, still shaking from adrenaline, before she took a controlled breath and carefully took the kitten from her grandmother. The cat's noises went quiet as Tamaki gently ran her fingers over it. Itachi smiled slightly. I doubt you will ever be able to be rid of that little one. Better think of a good name for it. Tamaki smiled and whispered. Bayako. Itachi and Nakoba both chuckled with the old cat lady teasing. A little on the nose, don't you think? Tamaki pouted slightly and mumbled. I thought it was a good name for her, and Nakoba graduated from chuckling to actual laughing. Itachi walked up to the young girl and asked a simple question. What were you thinking when you moved to kill that snake? Tamaki thought for a moment before she answered. All I could think of was protecting Bayako and Bachan. I started my training to ensure my grandmother would always be safe alongside any we have to care for. I guess it was just putting that commitment to the test. Itachi's Sharingan drilled into Tamaki for a minute before he smiled. I think you are well on your way to becoming a splendid ninja, Tamaki-chan. To me, a ninja is defined by their commitment to their ideals and aspirations, as well as their ability to persevere when others choose to quit or fall of their own volition. But your eyes hold the spark to never give up. They say the Sharingan can see the future, and I think it might just be right in this moment at least, because I see you achieving great things. Tamaki shyly shuffled around, don't think I'll be going too far. Itachi smirked lightly. Perhaps, but I have found that life has a tendency to ensure all receive a rightfully owed due for their deeds. Tamaki rose an eyebrow at that but said nothing. Itachi spoke to Nakoba. I presume you will not be in need of escort back. The old woman shook her head. I have plenty of protection and I may be old, but I am far from helpless. Itachi smiled as he put his straw hat back on. Good to hear. Goodbye. And Itachi began walking off as the cat family made their way home with both snake corpses and the cat corpse in tow. A week later, Tamaki went motionless as she read the letter she had received. Tamaki-san, it has come to my attention, thanks to a shared acquaintance, that you have the desire to become a ninja and the attributes we seek to foster in our ninja. A recent incident has opened up a seat in the academy class of your age group. The seat is yours if you so desire. A quick response would be appreciated. Here's in Saratobi, 3rd Hokage. Bachan. Tamaki barely whispered. In shock over the letter. Can't say I'm surprised. I had a feeling Itachi was going to give that old monkey his recommendation. Nakoba stated without missing a beat. Tamaki wanted to be shocked, but instead all she could do was nod. Well? You wanted to be a ninja and this is your best chance. Why haven't you accepted? Nakoba grilled, already knowing the answer. Tamaki sighed. I can't imagine leaving you alone. I started training to keep you safe. Nakoba sighed. Tamaki, your commitment to taking care of me is admirable, but there comes a point where you must decide between self-imposed obligation and the passion you hold for what you choose to be your future. The incident a week ago merely forced the issue to now instead of much further on. Choose and live with what you choose. Tamaki returned to her room, but her grandmother's words echoed in her head. Meow. Tamaki chuckled as Bayako meowed softly as she near silently crawled onto the top of Tamaki's head. You really stirred up trouble for me. Meow, don't even act like I'm blaming my problem on you. I'm kidding. Meow, I know. I'm stalling. I know you and Bachan have my back no matter what I choose. Meow, watch it, not even a month old and already a smartass. Meow, ugh. Fine. Tamaki ended her conversation with Bayako and grabbed a paper and brush. Tamaki breathed in and wrote a response. And with it each stroke, she was choosing her future. Konoha, present day. The next day, the Nara clan woke up to pure chaos all over the compound. Someone had interchanged men's underwear with those of the women. Itching powder and red chili powder had been fed to the clan's deer herd. Obviously, they were going crazy, kicking their caretakers and chasing them around after that. Shikaku found out that someone had put pink dye into the water which was used to wash his clothes, and he had to settle for wearing that abomination of a uniform for the day, since someone had carefully applied itching powder on the rest of his clothes, making him send them to laundry. The absolute worst part of it all was that not a single fingerprint of the culprits was found. Surely, they had snuck into the compound at night, but the Chunin guards on night duty had no idea who had snuck in and how. Shikaku also found out that half of the shogi pieces from each of his sets had been stolen and also his entire collection of Icha Icha series, which was carefully hidden. How someone came to know that he was an avid reader of the Toad Sage's writings made him go crazy. He also shivered at the prospect of his wife finding out this carefully hidden secret. Only Inoichi and Chaoza knew about it and they would be having a good laugh about it. Unfortunately for the Nara clan head, that was not the end. When the poor Shikaku went for a bath to get rid of the itching powder that got on him, he used the soap, which he hadn't used when he took a shower, half an hour earlier. However, his soap and face wash had a mix of itching powder and a small amount of red chili powder as well. He screamed from the bathroom as his eyes hurt and his body began itching all over again. The poor Nara had to go to his friend Chaoza's house to take a bath. He got to the Hokage's office 3 hours late. 2 hours earlier, a scream of absolute horrified terror and misery was heard from the Hokage's office. Someone had carefully altered the arrangement of the paperwork. Hiruzen had diligently arranged the papers last night and put them in order to review them the next day, but that diligent arrangement had been thrown down the gutter. It took him 2 hours to rearrange the papers to how they had been the night before. The old man thanked Kami for keeping his memory sharp at this advanced age. After that he decided to take a break and seeing that he had no appointments for the next 3 hours and Shikaku was yet to report, he decided to read the latest Icha Icha book he had received from his student 3 days ago, but hadn't gotten the time to take a look at. As soon as Hiruzen let out a satisfied breath and opened the book, he screamed again in a girlish voice. Someone carefully replaced the book without changing the cover, and to his dread the book contained yaoi porn. The professor had to resist the urge to throw up and make his office dirty. To his even bigger dread, not only that particular book, but each and every Icha Icha book from his entire collection had been replaced. How someone found out about that secret drawer, the exact location of which is that of the secret button to open it was unknown even to the Anbu guarding him 24/7 was a matter of great curiosity. On the Hokage rock, someone had hung an open Icha Icha book from above, right before Hiruzen's face, eyeballs were painted on his stone eyes, and it looked like he was looking down. Thick red lines were drawn from his nose, giving the impression of a massive nosebleed. That day, everyone in the village to some degree understood that their honorable Hokage was a closet pervert. Both Hiruzen and Shikaku knew very well exactly who had pranked them and why. Unfortunately, they didn't have a single shred of evidence to pin the crime. The sheer scale of the prank was huge. In one single night, the Hokage's office and the Nara clan compound were hit with huge pranks. Of course, Naruto knows both the shadow clone jutsu and tree walking, who knew that the implications of one single kid learning such trivial stuff would be this terrifying. Both the Hokage and the Jonin commander thought simultaneously. They also had the feeling that Naruto wasn't alone in this, his teammate had helped him out. But later, the Hyuga guards on night duty would testify that Hinata never strolled out of the house, let alone leave the compound. What they didn't know was that a Naruto clone had substituted himself with Hinata, then transformed himself into her and slept in her place. There was no trace of lack of sleep on the faces of the genin either when they reported, since by using the shadow clones, the whole setup was put in place within 2 hours. As Naruto and Hinata reported, the blonde burst out laughing, while began Hinata giggling as well, upon seeing Shikaku clad in a pink uniform. The two elder shinobi's eyebrows began twitching. Just how? Hiruzen asked, knowing that he had no evidence to pin the pranks on the two and he wouldn't punish them even if he had. Trade secrets, not telling. Naruto replied. Then Hiruzen tried to do the puppy eyes jutsu, which was invented by his former teammate and current advisor Kaharu. Okay Jiji, but on one condition. Naruto replied, crossing his arms across his chest. And what would that be? You will have to join me in one of my pranks, then you will yourself understand how I do this. Naruto chirped. Hiruzen paled. To think that the Hokage himself would be pranking the village, he couldn't even imagine it. But a part of his mind, his childish and excitable side got the better of him. He also didn't want to be at the receiving end of the pranks anymore. But anyone who put forth a guess to the old Hokage would have been met with denial. Deal. Hiruzen replied. Shikaku's eyes widened at the prospect, but then even he began wanting in. Mind if I joined as well? He asked his students. Don't tell me it was all so troublesome afterwards. Naruto replied with a smirk. It definitely will be, but something tells me the outcome would be worth it. Shikaku replied with a smirk. He was already plotting a revenge on Inoichi and Chaoza, who had laughed, rolling on the floor for 1 hour, upon seeing his predicament. That was a bad day for Konoha, for the master prankster of the village was joined by perhaps the biggest brain of the village, a living jutsu data book, and a girl with the most powerful Byakugan ever. The enormity of the pranks the village would face in the coming days would make all the gods wince in sympathy for those who were at the receiving end of it. But that's for another day. Once the new pranking team of Konoha was formed, Hiruzen allowed himself to get serious. Alright then, we have clearly understood the message regarding the feelings of Team 6 with D-rank missions. So, I have decided to cut you some slack. You will be assigned C-rank missions from now on. However, in return you must agree to undertake D ranks when you are within the village and when your sensei sees fit to not allow a day off for rest or have you train the entirety of the day, is that understood? As long as the D ranks don't involve chasing that damned cat, we have a deal Jiji. Naruto replied, giving a thumbs up. Shikaku and Hiruzen looked at each other. They still remembered Naruto's threat of letting Tora loose in the Hokage's office should he and or Hinata be assigned to capture him ever again. Sometimes that damn cat made the two men wonder if the dreaded Hyuga, the 10-tailed demon legendarily fought by the Sage of Six Paths, was truly the worst monster faced by mortal men with a creature like Tora existing. Needless to say, they fully intended to never let that threat come to fruition. That will not be a problem Naruto-kun. Hiruzen replied with a smile. Naruto and Hinata smiled. Very well then, right now I have a C rank prepared for your team. He said as he pulled a scroll and handed it to Shikaku along with another red-colored scroll. The head Jonin of course knew about the mission, so he didn't bother either scroll, which could be done later on. Team 6 accepts the mission, by your consent, Hokage-sama. He asked for permission to leave with a slight bow. All the best for your mission Team 6. Dismissed. Hiruzen replied. The head Jonin and his troublesome students then exited the Hokage's office. As the team exited the office, so, what kind of mission are we having Shikaku-sensei? Naruto asked with an excited face. We need to deliver this scroll to the village leader of the Takigakur, the village hidden in the waterfalls. Which means we will be out of Konoha. It will take something in between a week to 10 days to carry out this mission, so pack accordingly. You have 1 hour to get ready, make sure to get freshened up and don't take a heavy meal, which will slow you down, and don't eat too little either. Meet me at the gates after exactly an hour. Dismissed. Shikaku ordered before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto was excited. On their first mission itself, he and his best friend were heading to another ninja village. He would be able to finally see the lands beyond the gates of Konoha after all these years. I am really excited for the mission Hinata-chan, what about you? I am excited too, I hope we will succeed without any difficulties. Hinata replied, pressing her fingers. She was also excited, not only at the prospect of going on a mission outside the village, but she was traveling abroad with Naruto. Alright, let's pack up and meet at the Ichiraku's after half an hour, is that good with you? Naruto asked. Hi, that's a good idea. She replied. See you then. Naruto then ran off towards his apartment. Hinata also soon made her way towards the Hyuga mansion. The Ashi Hyuga was going through a document related to the clan's finances in his personal study when a knock was heard on the door. Come in. Hinata walked in, with her supplies ready for the mission. Hiashi looked up and raised an eyebrow. Are you headed out of the village on a mission, daughter? Hinata meekly nodded. Why yes father. Hokage-sama gave us a C-rank M mission to go to Takigakur. I will be out for at most 10 days. Hinata replied, looking down. Have you packed adequately for the mission? Hi. Well then, you can leave, do well daughter. Hiashi said, moving his attention back to the document he was reading. Hinata exited after giving a bow and closing the door. Once she was out, Hiashi looked up at the door again. Stay safe my daughter. The upcoming couple met up at Ichiraku's after packing up, exactly half an hour after separating near the Hokage Tower. One mizo ramen for me old man. Naruto ordered aloud. Humming right away came the reply from Tucci, the chef and owner. What about you, young lady? The ramen chef asked Hinata. I will have what Naruto-kun is having. She replied. In minutes, hot and delicious ramen was served and the soon-to-become couple began enjoying their meals in comfortable silence. So going out on a mission? Asked Tucci. Yes, old man, finally Hokage Jiji gave us a real ninja mission. I am really excited. Naruto exclaimed. Hinata watched her love's antics and smiled with pink cheeks, which didn't go unnoticed by AM. She had been observing the two ever since they started coming to the ramen stall together, which was soon after the graduation exams. She had observed Hinata stealing glances of Naruto with a look of longing. The smile if she had was more of affection than of admiration. It didn't take AM to figure out that what the Hyuga girl felt for their favorite customer was beyond a simple schoolgirl crush, it was love. This girl has it bad for Naruto, it will be really good for him if he takes notice of her already. His one-sided crush on that pink-haired girl is really annoying sometimes. Then the daughter of the ramen chef noticed something. She noticed Naruto stealing glances of Hinata when the latter was not looking up and his cheeks reddened while he did so. Her eyes widened and he slightly elbowed her father before pointing him towards the two. Tucci smiled, then thinking a bit, he decided to make Naruto confront what he felt for the Hyuga girl so that their coming together can be speeded up. When the two finished and got ready to pay the bill, Tucci waved them off. After all, they surprisingly had only one bowl each. It's on the house, you two are going on your first real ninja mission, consider it a treat of good luck from me. The ramen chef explained with a smile. Naruto began grinning. Thanks, old man Tucci, you are the best. Thank you very much, it's very kind of you, Tucci-san. Hinata said with a bow of gratitude. As the two besties turned around to leave. And Naruto, take good care of your cute little girlfriend. Tucci loudly said with sly smile, the two teens reddened up immediately. Girlfriend? Both thought simultaneously. Hinata only prayed that the words of the ramen chef came true soon. She didn't know that her prayers were about to be answered. Naruto was actually embarrassed, but for some reason he found that he actually liked the idea. He stole a glance of the Hyuga girl whose face was doing the best impression of a tomato. She's cute when she is reddened up like that. Then his thoughts wandered off to the day when he had seen Hinata without her jacket when she was soaking wet. The blonde began actually somehow felt the urge to touch her when he saw her like that, touch her, hug her, cuddle with her, and then he thought that her lips looked really nice, maybe he could touch them with his own. What the hell am I thinking, she is my friend. What will she think of me when she finds out I'm thinking about her like this? Think of something else, Naruto. Alas, he couldn't. And not Naruto began stuttering out an excuse when he was immediately cut off by the ramen chef. I am sure you kids are getting late for your mission, you two should hurry up. See ya after the mission. The kids ran off. I don't know why I like the idea of Hinata being my girlfriend, I mean, yeah, she is really nice, she even saved me when even I didn't want to save myself, and damn, she really looks hot under that baggy jacket. What is this feeling? Am I well, I have to figure this feeling out, it feels different from what I feel around Sakura-chan, around Jiji, around old man Tucci and AMD-san. This is different. I won't tell her about it until I am sure of what this feeling is. What if I end up hurting her? The blonde shook his head, he couldn't even imagine hurting this precious girl in any way. No, I won't hurt her, never. The two soon got to their sensei who was yawning as he stood against a wall near the gate. Morning sensei. Let's get moving already, I can't wait to start this mission. Naruto exclaimed. Good morning sensei. Hinata greeted with a bow. Good morning to both of you. And Naruto, I am sure that you are excited for this mission, but rushing in without thinking much before or during the execution backfires on you always, so be a little bit calmer. The Nara clan head cautioned. Take a deep breath, Naruto, and think that this mission is just as important as the ones you have done before, nothing more, nothing less. He advised. But sensei, this is Naruto was cut off again. Yes, this is a C-rank mission, a higher ranked one than the daily chores you carried out earlier, but still, this is just a mission, and a shinobi must treat all missions equally. That will help him make good judgments and not overwhelmed. Understood. Both teens nodded and Naruto followed their teacher's advice and calmed himself down a bit with deep breaths. Good, now I want you show the things you have packed. You first, Hinata. Shikaku ordered. The Hyuga nodded and then laid down all the items she had packed. 30 kunai, 50 shuriken, 20 pieces of explosive tags, camping equipment, some healing cream I guess, and some ration bars. Good enough, you really took care of all the necessary things. The Nara said with a thumbs up. Hinata reddened a bit with the praise, she wasn't accustomed to it. Even Naruto patted her shoulders. Now you, Naruto. The blonde obeyed. So, what do we have here? 40 kunai, 50 shuriken, also 20 pieces of explosive tags, some camping equipment and 30 cups of instant ramen. Yes sensei, what are we supposed to eat otherwise? Naruto asked as if it was the most obvious question in the world. Shikaku and Hinata both sweat dropped. Although I understand your point, but I can't allow you to carry this unnecessary load. Ninja can arrange their own food from the nature, and you two will be learning it. So, you have 15 minutes to go back to your place, put these ramen cups back and come back. And if I find even one ramen cup within your luggage, I will have it thrown away. Is that clear? Shikaku sternly asked. Naruto glared at his teacher, as if threatening him with a prank if he didn't take back his order. Shikaku didn't budge, well he couldn't stunt his student's growth and also let him continue having an unhealthy diet even if he is hit with another prank. Upon seeing that he was going nowhere with a glaring, Naruto finally obeyed. 20 minutes later, Team 6 was on its way. Naruto enjoyed the view, the trees, those sounds of birds, everything was serene. Have you ever gone out of Konoha, Hinata-chan? The blonde asked his best friend, who was also enjoying the view. Why yes, twice, when my mother was alive. She said, recalling the memories of those happy days. We went to C collect herbs, F flowers and E even to a hot spring. She recalled. Wow, that's amazing. As for me, well, this is my first time outside Konoha. Naruto said. Hinata felt glad that she got to accompany him on his first trip outside Konoha. So, sensei, what is this hidden waterfalls village like? What kind of ninja do they have? The blonde asked curiously. Ikigakure is a minor shinobi village, they have ninjas, but their number is not as big as Konoha or even Suna, which has the least number of shinobi among the 5 great nations. Shikaku explained. Naruto tried recalling what the 5 great nations were and was able to recall bits from Iruka's lecture on the topic. 5 great nations aren't they Iwa, Kumo, Kiri, Suna and Konoha. Iruka-sensei said they each have a cage like the Hokage and they are strong villages. Correct. Iwagakure, Kumagakure, Kurigakure, Sunagakure and Konohagakure. These are the 5 great ninja villages and the nations they are located in, the land of earth, the land of lightning, the land of water, the land of wind and the land of fire, are called the 5 great nations. Each great ninja village is led by a kage. Iwa by the Tsuchikage, Kumo by the Reikage, Kiri by the Mizukage, Suna by the Kazukage, and of course Konoha by the Hokage, which you want to become one day. Shikaku explained and Naruto enthusiastically nodded. The 5 great ninja villages are called great because they have the power to back up their claim. Iwa has the largest number of shinobi of any ninja village. Their shinobi specialize in earth-style ninjutsu, but they also have several other specialized teams. The most notable of Iwa's shinobi teams are the Explosion Corps and Steam Corps. Kumo, although has less shinobi than Iwa, their shinobi are stronger on average. They specialize in lightning-style ninjutsu. They also produce excellent swordsmen. Currently they are the strongest shinobi village. At least in regards to the average of quality of ninja they produce among the quantity they hold. Suna has the least number of shinobi among the great nations, but their shinobi are notably skilled, especially in the wind style. They also have a puppet user corps, which has several skilled ninja puppet masters. Ninja from Suna specialize in combat in harsh regions due to training in the unstable biome of the wind desert. As for Kiri, they have ninjas specializing in water-style ninjutsu. Their most notable ninja group is the 7 ninja swordsmen, who wield different kinds of special swords. Kiri also makes the best assassins out of any ninja village. Kiri ninja are trained to operate in aquatic environments and tend to be better at fighting optimally while submerged. Kiri and Suna both are known for using poisons, but Kiri favors utilizing poisons from the myriad of venomous aquatic species that lurk in the land of water, while Suna favors the production of drugs and poisonous mixtures, with venomous desert animals being utilized on occasion. So, what is Konoha special for sensei? Naruto quizzically asked. Nothing. Before Naruto could raise further questions, Shikaku continued his explanation. The shinobi of Konoha specialize in fire-style ninjutsu. We don't have any special shinobi corps, but almost all the most powerful shinobi of their era were from Konoha. The Shodai, Nidame, Sandame, Yondame, the legendary Sannin, the White Fang Haddock Sakumo and Uchiha Madara, all were from Konoha. Isn't your team with Inoichi-sama and Chaozu-sama F famous too? Sensei? Hinata asked. So, you've heard about the Inoshikacho formation huh? Yeah, we were quite good at our job and perhaps still are. Our clans have been allies since generations, and in every generation of shinobi, there is always a team consisting of the members of our clan, since our specialties work well together. Shikaku explained. Coming back to the topic of ninja villages, apart from the 5 great ones, there are several minor shinobi villages such as Kusagakure, Amegakure, Hashigakure and Takigakure, to where we are heading now. The shinobi of Taki mostly specialize in water style, but there are some who are good with earth style as well. The village also has a giant tree which is about 1,000 years old. From this tree, a special water, called the hero's water, is produced every 100 years. If someone drinks it, their strength increases manyfold. Shikaku explained further. Wow, that's really interesting. I am sure they won't just let us drink that hero's water, would they? Naruto asked again. Troublesome, of course not, it is considered a treasure by them, and also drinking too much of it has several harmful side effects, so you better stay away from it. Shikaku responded, earning nods from his genin. Also, there is something else you should know about Taki, Naruto. But before getting to that point, you should know that the Kyuubi, sealed in you, is not the only Biju. There are 8 others, each characterized by its number of tails, from the Ichibi all the way to the Kyuubi. Currently, most of the Biju are held by Jinchuriki, like you in the great ninja villages. However, Taki is the only village apart from the 5 great ninja villages to possess a Biju. They have the 7-tailed rhinoceros beetle, the Nanabi. Naruto's eyes widened at the revelation. D there are more Biju and T there are people, yes, people like me. Naruto mumbled. Hinata placed her hand on his shoulder to comfort him. The reason I am telling this to you, Naruto, is that it is very much possible that while in Taki, we might come across the Nanabi Jinchuriki, and at that time, it is very much possible that the Kyuubi will react to the Nanabi's presence. I don't know what kind of reaction it will be, but I suspect that it won't be friendly. The Kyuubi might try to overcome your will with his own. So, you must stay strong and have full faith in your capabilities, and you must not let go of your willpower. The head jonin of Konoha advised. While talking, the group reached a riverbank by sunset. Let's make camp here. From tomorrow, while we move, we will have practice as well. Shikaku explained and cautioned. Meanwhile, in the outskirts of Takigakure, at a lonely house, a girl with mint green hair, clad in a white top that went down halfway till her midriff and a low-rise skirt, was getting used to 4 wings that were sticking out from just above her waist and was trying to fly using them. The girl suddenly sneezed and fell flat on the ground from her far from perfected method of flight. Why does Fu have a feeling that she might finally make some friends soon? The girl mumbled to herself in confusion. One day after setting out for Taki, as the Team 6 decided to set camp for the night, Shikaku ordered the team to hunt rabbits, and his genin complied. With her Byakugan, Hinata spotted some of them in almost no time, and then Naruto charged at their potential dinner. At first it was difficult, but it was all over for the rabbits when the orange-clad blonde made the cross-hand sign and 20 copies of him appeared. With Hinata's extremely accurate guidance and the overwhelming clone power, the team was grilling 3 dead rabbits on fire within less than 15 minutes. To Shikaku's utter satisfaction, he didn't have to lift a finger. The flamboyant blonde caught the rabbits, and the shy Hyuga cooked them. Awesome. I hope old man Tucci won't get pissed off if I say that you cook better than him, Hinata-chan. The blonde complimented. Hinata's face reddened. It was the first time someone complimented her for her cooking, and the fact that the said compliment came from the one she loved the most made it even more special. Thank you, and Naruto-kun. I have to admit, it is delicious. Shikaku affirmed after taking his first bite. Thank you, sensei. Soon the team was ready to call it a night. In order to make them familiar with keeping watch in shifts, Shikaku had Naruto keep watch for the first shift. Hinata would go next, and finally he would keep watch for the last shift. Of course, the Jonin commander wouldn't sleep just like that. He discreetly made a shadow clone and had to take cover behind a bush and keep watch on his genin as they kept watch. As Naruto kept watch for the first shift, at some point his gaze fell on the sleeping form of Hinata. For some moments he just couldn't take his eyes away her. Earlier he had kinda checked her out after they practiced water walking. Now he was flustered by just how cute she looked while sleeping. Oh Kami, she looked so beautiful, asleep like that. Like a fairy, innocent and cute. Then Naruto noticed the slight blush on her round cheeks and the natural pink of her lips, and he felt an urge to caress that angelic face, play with her silky hair, and plant a kiss or two on her cute pink lips. Naruto violently shook his head to drive such thoughts out, but now he had to admit he wanted to be much more than friends with the Hyuga princess. He remembered how she stood before him when Mizuki revealed the secret about the Kyuubi. She looked so heroic, so strong in a way that made the blonde feel well and truly safe for the first time, a new degree of safe that he only felt in her presence. He also had begun feeling that with her by his side, he could accomplish anything. She wholeheartedly supported his ambition of becoming Hokage, something that only Iruka-sensei and Jiji had done before. But none of them had ever reassured Naruto in a way that only Hinata could. This new feeling washed over him and left a sense of warmth inside his chest that he had never felt before. After some minutes of observing the sleeping form of his best friend, Naruto went back to keeping watch, but with a slight red tint on his cheeks as his mind began coming to terms with this new feeling that he had towards Hinata. The clone of Shikaku that was observing them had a smirk on his face. Looks like Hiashi has some troublesome times ahead, but I sure can definitely enjoy some budding romance between these two lovebirds, the clone thought to himself. Naruto's watch went by without incident. Now he had to wake his best friend up for her own watch. At first Naruto thought of just keeping watch for her shift as well, since he just didn't want to wake her up, but then he realized the point. Such things were necessary for Hinata's growth as a shinobi as well, and so if she wished she could stand up to that asshole, Fate's bitch, cousin of hers one day, it was necessary that she became better. Thinking this, the blonde went into the tent. Wake her up plain and simple he thought, but how to do so? He started to press her cheeks. So soft. Naruto thought as Hinata moved a little, he then caressed her angelic face a bit, as softly as he could, so that he could take a feel of it. Hope she doesn't mind. Then he poked her cheek softly again. Wakey wakey Hinata, time to keep watch. He whispered in her ear as he poked her a few more times. Finally, the Hyuga's eyelids opened up gradually. Upon seeing the sleeping beauty get up with a yawn, Naruto was frozen. I want to see her wake up like that every day, Kami, she's so cute. What happened, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, not fully awake from her slumber. Time for your shift, Hinata-chan. Naruto replied softly. Then Hinata got fully back to her senses. Sorry Naruto-kun, I fell asleep a bit harder. No issues. Naruto said, waving his hands. Just make sure to wash your face, okay? He said, offering his water bottle. Sure. Hinata replied, taking the bottle from him and going out. Naruto then got into his own sleeping bag. His mind went into some thoughts. Right now, all I know is shadow clones. Hinata-chan has helped me a lot with taijutsu and throwing weapons like kunai and shuriken, but still I am in no way as good as her. I need to start taking these things seriously. What if someone had attacked while I was keeping watch? Someone powerful would have I been able to hold them off until sensei and Hinata-chan got up and took care of them. Perhaps, but there is a possibility that someone could have got by and taken them out before I could wake them up. No, I need to be stronger, a lot stronger. I can't let anything happen to Hinata-chan. She has already risked her life for me. Once tomorrow I will ask sensei to teach me some jutsu. Right. It's decided. Naruto thought as sleep overtook him. Meanwhile in Sunagakure, the village hidden in the sand, 3 genin and their sensei stood in attention before the Kazekage. Team Baki, your mission is to retrieve this girl from Taki. She is the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi. We believe she can be a fine addition to our arsenal. Rasa the 4th Kazekage commented, passing photos of a girl dressed in white, with mint green hair. Tamari flinched inwardly. Just like Gaara, father is considering this girl as a weapon, too. Why? Just because they have some biju sealed in them, should they be treated as weapons? I don't understand how these things work really, and I really need to for Gaara's sake. He might be too far gone, but I hope I am not too late in that regard. Meanwhile Baki accepted the mission scroll from the Kazekage. Team Baki accepts the mission, Kazekage-sama. We will do our best. The half-veiled Jonin said. Meanwhile the youngest member of the team, the red-deeded boy, looked intensely at the photo of their target. My child, prove the worth of your existence, let your mother have her blood. A monstrous voice from within the red-deed's mind said. As you wish, mother, I will offer her blood to you and prove my worth in doing so. The red-deeded boy thought back. Back with Team 6, Hinata's watch also went by without incident. When she got back into her tent, she couldn't help look at the sleeping form of the boy she loved so much. He looked so cute. She thought with a blush. Feeling a little bold as Naruto was fast asleep, she quietly approached him and, with the utmost amount of care, touched one of the whisker marks on his cheeks. She always wondered if they were just a part of his skin or if they would feel different. Gently she ran her finger over the whisker mark, it didn't feel any different from the rest of his skin. The marks were just there. Are they because of the fox? Maybe, but they make him even cuter, Hinata thought with a slight blush and a smile, as she continued tracing that whisker mark softly with her thumb. She totally did not expect Naruto to purr and let out a pleased hum sound. So, you like being touched like that, Naruto-kun? I hope someday I can touch you like that, kiss you there even when you are awake. She thought with a blush before retreating to her own sleeping bag. Then the hidden clone of Shikaku dispersed, having witnessed all the fluffy scenes between his students. The Nara woke up and went to take his watch as, over the horizon, the traces of dawn had begun appearing. He took a glance at his sleeping students. I know the shinobi world is full of harshness, but perhaps budding love like that between these two can be a breath of fresh air in this world of darkness. The Nara clan head thought with a smirk. Morning came rather quickly, and the Team 6 was soon ready to continue their mission after having the remaining curry Hinata cooked last night as breakfast. Hey sensei. I want to learn some new jutsu. Naruto told Shikaku as the team continued towards Taki. The Nara raised an eyebrow. And why is that? He asked, interested to know whether the blonde wanted to learn jutsus for power or something else. Because I can protect you guys better with that. I mean, look, Hinata-chan has her Gyuukin and Byakugan, you're Jonin, but what do I have? I know shadow clones, transformation, substitution. Hinata-chan has helped me with chakra control, weapons throwing and taijutsu, but what if that's not enough? What if something bad happens when you are not around or something? I don't want to be a burden at that time. Naruto explained. Naruto-kun. Hinata protested. Hinata-chan, I can understand, but I have to grow too, or I can't help you put that asshole cousin of yours in place. Naruto retorted. Now Shikaku was smirking. So, you want to grow stronger in order to protect your teammate? Yeah. Sensei, in that case, teach me too. I need to stand up to those who don't like Naruto-kun for his burden, Hinata requested. Good. Alright team, we will learn some ninjutsus today then. Shikaku said with a smile. But before that we need to determine your elemental affinity. He added. Elemental affinity? Naruto quizzically asked. Troublesome, Hinata, can you give us a small revision of the elements? Hi. The elemental affinities are W wind, L lightning, fire, W water and earth. All shinobi H have a P primary affinity due to W which you using and learning jutsus O of the element is easier for them. F for K Kano has shinobi, the most common affinity is fire. H however, O over the Y your shinobi C can develop multiple affinities. A and they can use jutsus of elements other than their affinities as well, T though the chakra C cost is more. The Hyuga explained with a bit of stuttering. Excellent. Shikaku said with an approving nod, then he took out 2 chakra litmus papers from his pocket and handed it to his students. What's this, sensei? Naruto asked. This is called the chakra litmus paper, it is used to determine the elemental affinities of shinobi. Although we don't usually determine the affinities of genin, I am making an exception on the grounds of my own good judgment, even though it is troublesome, since I believe that all genin must be given elemental training. So, channel a bit of chakra into the paper, if it crumbles to dust you have earth, if it burns you have fur. Sensei, mine got cut into 2. Naruto exclaimed before Shikaku could complete his explanation. Mine G got W wrinkled. Hinata said in a soft voice. Troublesome overenthusiastic student Shikaku inwardly groaned. Which means Naruto has wind affinity and you have lightning, Hinata. Respectively the rarest and second rarest elements among Konoha shinobi. Shikaku commented. What affinity do you have, sensei? Naruto asked. My primary element is earth with a secondary fire and tertiary water affinity. Also, I have a special affinity called the yin element which helps me manipulate the shadows. This is like the bloodline of the Nara clan. Yin element affinity would be found in anyone with natural acclamation towards yinjutsu as well. Okay, so you have 3 affinities, along with that yin whatever that is. Naruto said trying to understand. Don't worry kid, in time you will also develop multiple affinities with practice. Shikaku reassured. Okay. Now, since we already know your affinities, we can start your training. The Nara clan head said, allowing himself to get serious as he took out 2 scrolls. Here, we have some basic jutsus for your affinities, lightning style. Lightning balls for Hinata and wind style. Drilling air bullets for Naruto. Shikaku described handing the respective scrolls to his students. Also, before we get started on the techniques, there are some elemental chakra control exercises which you should do in order to train with the elements better. Alright. Throw at us whatever you can, sensei. Naruto exclaimed in his usual excitement. Troublesome, pick up some leaves. For Naruto, you have to cut the leaf into 2 using wind chakra, Hinata has to make her leaf wrinkle. Do it for 3 hours today and tomorrow you will practice your jutsus. And Naruto, for now no shadow clones. Understood? Yes, sensei. The students acknowledged. I am sure these 2 will go a long way. A day passed with the 2 new genin trying their hardest to complete the exercise and not managing to complete it, with Naruto only achieving 10% success and Hinata achieving 20% success due to her excellent chakra control. Hinata then assisted Naruto with her Byakugan and then Naruto also managed to reach 20% in another hour. Oh, this exercise is damn difficult, right Hinata-chan? Naruto asked in between his long breaths. Why yeah, it is. I hope we can learn our jutsus by the time the M mission is completed. The Hyuga replied. I agree, that's a good timeline. We will need 10 days to complete the mission. I think that's enough to learn these 2 jutsus and complete the exercises as well. Just don't overwork yourself. Shikaku said, chirping into their conversation. Meanwhile in Konoha, the academy was bustling as usual. Although with Naruto now gone, the classes had become far quieter for Iruka. Sure, there were no troubles due to the blonde's regular pranks anymore, but the scarred instructor did feel like the class has become a bit less lively. As usual the class went on. Ino and Sakura kept fawning over Sasuke whenever they could, Choji would keep eating chips whenever Iruka would turn his back. Shikamaru would repeatedly fall asleep, something Iruka had become so used to that he didn't bother calling out the Nara anymore. Shino and Sasuke would always keep to themselves and not talk with anyone. Hiba would sometimes make some noise or keep playing with his dog, Akamaru. Naruto, I hope you are doing great and Hinata is keeping you out of trouble. Hopefully you'll also recognize how she feels about you soon. I'm positive her feelings were never a fangirlish crush. And being with her will end your loneliness for good. Iruka thought to himself before beginning the next lecture. The messenger slid the classroom door open and handed Iruka a small piece of paper. Iruka quickly read through and his eyes widened just a tad. He spoke in a low whisper, too low for any of the students to hear. 2 graduate and then 2 more come to take their place so soon after. Fine, tell them to stay in the hall just outside the classroom and I'll come get them when it's time, I have an announcement to make first. The messenger nodded and left the room. Hey sensei. I don't see Naruto here anymore. Was that loser expelled or something? Kiba asked, some students laughed at it as well. Well, that makes this easier. Thanks for bringing Naruto up, Kiba. No Kiba. He doesn't have to come to class anymore because he has already graduated, together with Hinata. They are now genin and doing missions. Haruka replied with an expressionless face, wishing to see how the entire class, with the exception of Hinata, which had written off the blonde as a failure, would take the news. Haruka was half expecting the silence he got as the class processed what exactly he said. A pin could drop or an invisible ninja seeking to kidnap Jinchuriki could sneak into the room as quietly as they could, only to have a panic attack and escape as fast and silently as they could, and yet, Haruka was certain everyone would hear it at this moment. Nice little shout out to how this fic got started. As expected, a collective gasp was heard. There is no way that Baka graduated early. Sakura screamed. That loser must have cheated somehow, it's impossible that he passed on his own. Kiba exclaimed. Haruka internally grinned. No Kiba, Sakura. Naruto didn't cheat. He not only passed, but he and Hinata helped in capturing a traitor, so the Hokage made them genin. Haruka replied. What? Kiba screamed again. And you be quiet, you are disturbing my sleep, troublesome dog boy. Shikamaru said with a yawn. He already knew what had happened with Naruto, and he was actually happy for his friend. Although his mother had admonished him, saying that Shikamaru could have passed together with Naruto and Hinata a year earlier, but the Nara had no interest in passing early and doing troublesome missions, while he could just chill at the academy for one more year. Who is their Jonin sensei? Sasuke asked, opening his mouth for the first time in the day. My old man. Shikamaru replied without opening his eyes. Oh, that means they got a Jonin sensei as lazy as Shikamaru. Fitting for the loser Naruto is. Sakura commented with a smirk, but then said smirk vanished when she saw Haruka looking at her with utter disappointment. Troublesome girl, I suggest being careful before insulting my father again. Shikamaru, his laziness now totally vanished from his face, replaced by a look of total seriousness. Ino and Choji were also looking at the pink-haired girl with anger. Sakura, first of all, it is completely unbecoming of a shinobi in training to insult someone's parent in public. Secondly, Shikamaru's father, Shikaku Nara, is no ordinary man. He is the 15th head of the Nara clan, Konoha's Jonin commander, as well as the Hokage's right-hand man and advisor. Which effectively makes him the second most powerful man in Konoha, right after the Hokage. Haruka explained with a totally serious voice. Sakura put her head down in shame. How did those two losers manage to not only pass 1 year early, but also got themselves the Jonin commander of all people as sensei, while I am here sitting and attending classes and not going after Itachi? Why are these people not letting me have power and giving it to that blonde loser and that weakling Hyuga instead? Sasuke thought with an internal snarl and frown and clenched his fists. You're letting that ego make promises you won't be able to keep. Now class, if you still have some problems with Naruto and Hinata passing early, you can take it up with the Hokage if you so choose, but for now, I suggest settling down. We have 2 new additions to the class. Haruka stated. Haruka went to the classroom entrance and found the new students waiting patiently. He beckoned them in. These 2 new students were a pair that couldn't be more different. One was a girl that had brown hair, fair skin just a few tones away from being pale, and brown eyes. Kiba and Akamaru both bristled slightly from her scent, she smelled of cats and loads of them. And that was before getting to the one perched on her shoulder, which had fur-colored a milky white on the underside, with the top being a light shade of purple with occasional dark purple stripes across its topside. Out of all the students in the class already, it was ironically the loner Sasuke who actually knew her. Her appearance drew back memories from days long gone, before madness had taken Itachi and when the Uchiha still stood. Of childhood adventures tracking down cats of great power and importance for the Paw Encyclopedia, including a rather comical incident where Itachi and Sasuke had tracked down Yujito Ni and convinced her to let the Nibi out and convinced Abiju to give its paw print. The other one was a boy with almost chalky pale skin and black hair and eyes. He smiled, but there was something distinctly off about it, and not in the same way as Naruto for those who bothered to notice. He clutched a scroll and ink pen, and his bag had a notebook in it that was obviously of great personal importance to the boy. Class, these are Sai and Tamaki. They are transferring into our class starting today. Skill evaluation has determined that they are of the proper skill and knowledge to be in a class of their age group, with no special courses required to bring them up to speed. Please give them help when needed and make them feel welcome. Haruka stated to the class, who nodded. Sai took up the now vacated seat next to Sasuke rather eagerly, while Tamaki took a seat that had been vacated by a student washing out and transferring out of the academy. And now, back to the lesson. Haruka commented before going back to writing on the board. With the exception of some murmurs of grumbles, the class went silent, much to Haruka's satisfaction. With their tasks for training set up, Team 6 continued on their way to the village hidden among the waterfalls. Each alternate day, Naruto and Hinata would carry out the elemental chakra control exercises and try out their jutsus. And just to keep up with his best friend and love interest, Naruto had to rely on 4 shadow clones. The former Hyuga heiress's chakra control was just that excellent. Hinata was already able to make 2 lightning balls at the second day of practice, while Naruto was able to fire about 3 bullets of wind. Hinata's task was to make 8 lightning balls and use them for attack, while Naruto was to launch a minimum of 15 drilling air bullets to consider his jutsu mastered at a beginner level. Yeah, you heard that right, beginner level, because his sensei, who didn't even have a wind affinity, was able to launch up to 30 drilling air bullets. Due to adding up ninjutsu practice into their schedule, Team 6's journey to Taki became more time-taking. Well, they should have reached the village in a matter of 3 to 4 days, now it was going to take the team 6 to 7 days to arrive at the truly hidden village. Well, they would just have to be quicker on their return trip. 7 days after starting from Konoha, Team 6 reached a spot fully covered by forests, but from a distance, the definite sound of a waterfall could be heard. That's a W waterfall, does it mean that we've reached Taki? Hinata asked. Well, we should be somewhere just outside the village. Shikaku mused. Just then Naruto felt something in his gut and slowly it began to turn into pain. Ah. He got onto his knees, gripping his stomach, more specifically the place where his seal was. Naruto-kun. Hinata shouted in alarm and, besting her nerves, held him by placing one arm on his shoulder and using the other arm to rub his stomach to give her love some relief. The fox is acting up, Naruto said with some difficulty. Just then the team heard someone fly up and then collide with some branch. Ooch. Shouted a girl in a white dress and a Taki headband as she collided with a branch. Team 6 definitely observed the wings sticking out of her waist and raised their eyebrows as the girl comically fell down. Hey, are you okay? Hinata said in concern as she walked up the girl while supporting Naruto, holding him by his shoulder. Yeah, perhaps Fu's flying still needs some work. Then she looked up to Naruto with interest. Naruto laughed. Might want to work on the landings as well. Before suddenly Naruto's stomach acted up again, but this time it was not as painful as before. Suddenly Naruto remembered Shikaku talking about a Jinchuriki and Taki, now he was certain this girl was the Jinchuriki. Are you a Jinchuriki by any chance? The blonde asked, shocking Fu. Wait, how do you know that? She asked in shock and fear. Does that mean you really are the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi? Shikaku asked. Fu's face became downcast, she had hoped that she would be able to impress the shinobi she was sent to escort with her flying skills. Now not only did she mess her flying up, but they also had figured out about her being Chime's host. Now they would never be her friends. Yes, I am. I am Fu, the Jinchuriki of the Chime, the Nanabi no Kabutamushi. She said sadly. She resignedly expected looks of disgust from the team before her, but what she saw were looks of curiosity and interest. And nice to meet you, I am Hyuga Hinata. The Hyuga girl said, extending her hand for a handshake. Fu was totally surprised for quite a few seconds. Did they not understand her right? She had a biju sealed in her, or did they simply not care? Was that even possible? She shook Hinata's hand with some hesitation. And I am Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konoha, and he took a sideways glance towards his sensei, who just gave a slight nod. And the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The blonde said with a grin, extending his hand for a handshake as well. Now Fu knew why Chime was suddenly acting up and so abnormally compared to usual, or usual for when these types of things occurred. So, you are like me? She said in disbelief. Yeah, if you are talking about having a biju sealed in our guts, then of course we are similar in that regard. Naruto said as Fu shook his hand. Finally, Shikaku came forward and offered a handshake as well. I am Nara Shikaku, their Jonin sensei and head of the Nara clan of Konoha. He introduced himself as Fu shook his hand, still in complete disbelief that 3 people came forward and interacted normally with her without giving a flying, like she had been attempting to impress them with a few minutes ago. Fuck about the fact that she was a Jinchuriki. Not only that, but one of them was a Jinchuriki himself. I take it that you are our escort? Shikaku asked as Fu remembered why she was sent to meet up with a team of Konoha shinobi. Oh, yeah, Fu will escort you to Tokigakure and show you around. She said with a smile, finally having found people who would accept her despite knowing about her being a Jinchuriki. Come on. The village is not that far away. She said in excitement, flying up and in rounds. Whoa. That's amazing. How do you do that? Naruto asked, surprised. It's an ability granted to Fu by Chime. Fu said as she landed, her flying was still shaky, so she was having a number of close calls with nearby trees. Wait, Chime? Is that the Nanabi's name? Naruto asked in surprise as Fu somehow managed to land without crashing. Yeah, that's his name, he told me that all the biju have names. The Nanabi Jinchuriki responded. Wow. Wait, so that means the Kyuubi must have a name too, right? I wonder what his name is. Naruto mused and felt a growl in his stomach. Meanwhile Fu, deciding to walk instead of flying, led the team towards her village. On their way, they saw at least 2 huge waterfalls, just 2 kilometers apart from each other. The team from Konoha were pleasantly surprised at the breathtaking beauty of these natural wonders. Meanwhile, Hinata also realized that one of these falls could be a good practice place for her. Soon the team was in the village. The team liked the place, but the people, well, very soon it was clear that Fu was despised among the populace and nobody wanted anything to do with her. Seeing the glares Fu was getting, Naruto was reminded of the glares he got from the people in Konoha. Perhaps irrespective of the place, the life of a Jinchuriki was the same. Despised, frowned upon, and lonely. Fu showed them some places in the village, such as the hospital, the ninja academy, and a park, as she led them towards the village leader Shibuki's residence. Naruto meanwhile decided to ask a question he just knew would be difficult for the girl to answer. "Hey Fu, do you have any friends?" Fu's look became downcast immediately. Fu doesn't have any friends, people here hate Fu and avoid her all the time. The green-haired girl responded. Shikaku doubted the hate part, but he definitely saw she was in a similar situation as Naruto. People had been afraid of her as time bomb waiting to go off. Some of the more judgmental fell into a mindset similar to Mizuki without intent to act on it. Everyone ignored her to try and cope with the perceived threat, which led to attention seeking in any way possible and led to Fu being further ostracized. I'm sorry, but we can be your friends if you like," Hinata suggested with a smile. "Really?" Fu exclaimed with a huge smile and stars in her eyes as she almost jumped on the Hyuga girl. "Hell yeah, you can definitely call us friends," Naruto said with a grin and a thumbs up. "Really? Really? You two will be friends with Fu? Fu loves it, Fu will definitely be your friend," the Nanabi Jinchuriki said with a smile as she jumped. "Shut up. Annoying girl, don't you see your shouts are disturbing us?" some random villager commented. "Mind your own business, old man," Naruto yelled back. Soon Team 6 was at the village leader's residence and led to the office part of it. As they entered the visitors' lounge, they found the village leader Shibuki, who was just above his teen years, waiting for them. Then Shikaku and Shibuki both bowed to each other. "I honestly never expected for the head of the Nara clan to personally come for such a trivial mission, but it's an honor, Shikaku-sama. I have heard a lot about you and your intellect. It's a pleasure to meet you," Shibuki said with a bow. "I am accompanying my genin team, Shibuki-sama. It is their first mission outside of the village and the land of fire. And it is a pleasure to meet you as well," Shikaku said with a slight bow of his own. Then he took out the scroll, given to him by the Hokage, and handed it over to the young village leader, who accepted it with another bow. "Please be seated," he offered, and the team along with Fu took their seats on the mats on the floor as Shibuki went through the document. At the end, he was quite satisfied. "Please give the Hokage my sincere gratitude and sorry I forgot to ask, but was your trip pleasant?" Shibuki added with a humble smile. "It was fine, nothing too troublesome," Shikaku responded. "And Fu-chan has been a great escort too." "That's good to hear. She's quite diligent," Shibuki responded, giving a look of approval to their resident Jinchuriki. Naruto wanted to say something about the treatment Fu was getting from the villagers in Taki, but stayed silent, thinking that this might not be his place to say something, and there was a possibility that his words could land Fu in even more trouble, as she had, in fact, revealed to them about her status as a Jinchuriki. So, in contrast to the general opinion on the boy, if you ask the right people about the blonde who would say that Naruto was a brainless idiot who always spoke his mind without considering the consequences, Naruto kept quiet. "I'll soon write a reply for the Hokage. I believe it must have been a long trip for you, Shikaku-sama, so I request that you stay in our village for a day or two and rest yourselves," Shibuki suggested. Shikaku thought about it a bit and well, there was actually nothing much to think about, as he wanted his team to have a bit of rest after the trip and a chance for them to complete their practice. "Fu, escort them to the guest house and make sure that they are comfortable," the village leader ordered. "Hi," the green-haired girl responded. Soon the team was out of the village leader's residence. "Hey Fu. Why don't you show us your place? I kinda want to see how does a Jinchuriki in another village lives," Naruto curiously asked. "But Fu's house is outside the village." The Nanabi Jinchuriki responded with a downcast face again. Team 6 could only sympathize with the girl. "But Fu will be happy to have her friends over there, yay," she added, cheering herself up. How could the Konoha team not comply with this? Soon enough, Fu had led Team 6 to her place, a small wooden house with a large garden outside the village. A big waterfall was there as well, not too far away. The place was quite beautiful, but still the Konohanins understood that placing Fu's house at such a scenic and secluded spot like this was not done with any noble intentions. The team had to come to terms with the fact that this girl had it far worse than Naruto did in Konoha, and they could only wince in sympathy. Shikaku mentally decided to take it up with the Hokage once they returned, of course, and try to get this girl asylum in Konoha. Though the Nara clan head knew for certain that the people of Konoha were far from saints when it came to treating a Jinchuriki with respect, Naruto's case proved it. Perhaps, if Fu was given a secondary residence or outright exchange to Konoha, they would be able to somehow keep Fu being a Jinchuuriki under wraps for long enough to let her have a normal life, perhaps even long enough for the lonely girl to lay down roots and foundations that would help fight off the hate and mistrust that would inevitably ensue once Fu's secret came to light. Danzo would be Shikaku's #1 suspect for making that information known publicly. The Warhawk would do anything to get another potentially powerful asset for his supposedly disbanded foundation. Even under house arrest for manipulating Itachi to commit the Uchiha massacre, Danzo refused to wither. Shikaku smirked as another possibility, one that could help work to counter Danzo, came to mind for if Fu moved to Konoha. Put her in with the Aburame clan. Shibi had a personal axe to grind with Danzo concerning Torin, understandable considering how Danzo gave an ultimatum to the man demanding either Shibi turn over his own son or Torin to Danzo, and even after the disbandment of Root, Torin had never been returned to his clan with Danzo, claiming that the boy had either disappeared or died. Neither Shikaku nor Shibi believed it with how many bodies, or rather remains of bodies infected by Torin's Rinkechu, had been found since the supposed disbandment. Being given custody of Fu with the knowledge that Danzo wanted her in his organization would be an opportunity for the Aburame clan head to claim revenge against the cripple that the man would relish. Perhaps, sensei, why don't we stay here for as long as we are in Taki? Hinata-chan likes this place too. Naruto suggested after Fu had shown him and Hinata around including the beautiful waterfall close to her house, while Shikaku laid down in the courtyard and contemplated. Doesn't sound too troublesome. Perhaps we can let Shibuki know tomorrow, but we can do that. This place is very calm and quiet, I like it here too. The Nara clan had approved, much to the joy of his genin. That evening, Fu and Hinata were sitting and chatting in the veranda while Naruto practiced his wind style. Drilling air bullets in the courtyard under Shikaku's supervision. The Hyuga was taking a break, she didn't have her beloved's unending stamina after all. So Hinata-chan, Fu has been seeing you looking at Naruto while he is not looking. Fu said in a teasing voice, and Hinata obviously began blushing red like a tomato and tried to come up with some excuse. But Fu has also seen Naruto stealing glances at you when you don't look too. She added with her thumb under her chin and struck an innocent but thoughtful expression. Hinata blushed even harder. She remembered when Naruto spoke about his dream of having a family someday and stole a glance at her. She knew hope was one's biggest enemy and could very possibly turn into the biggest source of despair. She knew that the boy she loved didn't understand girls that much and that he was a dunce when it came to romance, but still with Fu's words, she understood that there was a chance however small that was, and she dared to hope against all odds that perhaps Uzumaki Naruto, her hero, her idol, her inspiration, and the one she had already given her heart to was at some level returning her feelings. Hopefully, someday her greatest dreams would come true, someday she would be able to hold him in her arms, caress him, kiss him, and erase the loneliness in his heart forever. She had seen his mask slip, his grin falter and his face down, eyes full of tears, when he thought no one was watching. Hopefully soon she would be able to make him let it out and take those tears head on, for she knew they had to be dealt with and dealt with as soon as possible. So, you like him, don't you? Fu asked in a teasing voice once again, pulling Hinata out of her dreamy musings. The Hyuga shook her head to control the blush on her face but couldn't. Come on Hinata-chan, don't be so shy. Fu is your friend, you can tell Fu. The Nanabi Jinchuuriki added with a small grin and wink as wings popped out of her waistline and flapped a bit. And no, I don't like him. Hinata said with pink cheeks. Fu became confused until Hinata decided to continue with a dreamy but determined smile. I love him. The Hyuga girl whispered. Wow, that's so romantic. Fu responded with a big grin as she patted the Hyuga girl on her shoulders and back. Fu will cheer for you. She added. Thank you Fu-chan. Hinata responded with pink cheeks. What neither of them knew was that for some reason, Naruto had decided to take a small break and was walking back towards the room where they had kept their bags, and he just so happened to be close enough to hear what Fu and Hinata were talking about and far enough for none of them to take notice of his presence. When he heard Hinata's admission, he didn't even know what to think anymore. He was blushing. Well, to be precise, Hinata Hyuga had always been a special case for him. She was the nicest girl in the class, regardless of that weird reddening of her face, her stuttering, and frequent fainting spells. She was nice and was genuinely kind to him. Her smile always made him happy. Whenever he saw that smile, his mind tried to make a connection he couldn't fully make yet, but he felt like he knew Hinata from before the start of the academy. Her presence made him happy somehow. When and if she was ever absent, Naruto would feel weird, like something was missing. On those days he wouldn't play pranks, because at some corner of his mind, he knew Hinata genuinely enjoyed his pranks. But he thought that he liked Sakura, the pink-haired class topper in regards to book knowledge and theory. She was confident, kind to her friends, and was popular as well, which made Sakura so completely opposite to Hinata. Sakura was totally outspoken about her love for Sasuke, and Naruto kind of wanted her shout for him instead of Sasuke, but he had come to understand that he just wanted someone to cheer for him, declare their love for him, and he had just given that desire Sakura's face. But ever since his sudden graduation, he had never thought of Sakura. Instead, he was admiring the shy Hyuga of his class more and more how heroic she looked when she stood before him, staring down a traitor who had used Naruto and tried to crush him with distorted information, facing Mizuki without a care in the world, and declared that Naruto was not a monster. How beautiful she looked when she offered her soft words of encouragement, and how blissful and calming those words felt. How beautiful she looked when she was soaking after the water walking practice, and how cute she looked when she was asleep in the tent. How soft her cheeks were. Well, by now Naruto was sure of one thing: he definitely liked this girl and wanted to be more than friends with her. But then he heard her declaring her love for him. For some reason, as soft as it was, this declaration seemed different, true and strong, far stronger than those declarations of Sakura, Ino or any other fangirl toward Sasuke. This declaration washed a sense of calm in his heart, and he felt like a huge hole there was beginning to be filled up. What he didn't know was what exactly did he feel for her. Did he just like her, like his crush on Sakura some months ago? No, it was different, stronger and truer. What he did know was that he wanted to say those words, "I love you, Hinata," without even the slightest hint of hesitation. Perhaps he could ask her out once they got back to Konoha. Yeah. That's it. That's exactly what he'll do. Having made the decision, Naruto went to their room. At night, Naruto was having a nightmare relating to Hinata. He saw her being taken away by some men in cloaks as she screamed for him. He couldn't see the faces of those cloaked men, but could only see terrifying glares, as if they were telling him that he was helpless, useless, and hopeless. No. He woke up with almost a shout. Luckily he wasn't loud enough to wake anyone up, but looking around he found Hinata's mat empty. Oh shit. Who was sleeping there, some feet away on another mat? Sensei was in the other room. What should he do? Should he make a noise? Not yet, she could have just as well gone to the washroom. He decided that he would just take a look around before alerting anyone. At night, it had rained a little, just less than an hour ago. So, the soil was wet. As soon as Naruto quietly stepped out, he saw some footsteps going away from the house. Footsteps that should about match Hinata's. So Naruto decided to follow their tracks. He followed and followed, finally coming close to the waterfall close to Fu's residence, and in the moonlight, he saw a shadow move at the base of the waterfall. Is that Hinata-chan? What the hell is she doing out here, all by herself this late? The blonde decided to probe a bit further, so he approached as quietly as he could from almost 300 meters away, and he saw that the shadow was moving as if it was dancing. Unable to suppress his curiosity, Naruto decided to move forward a bit to get a better view, and he just so happened to have spotted a tree that would give him the perfect view of what was going on, while providing cover to hide in, and climbed up on it as quietly as he could and settled himself on a branch behind the cover of the leaves, which seemed to be enough to conceal him, and what he saw took his breath away. As the moonlight lit up the surroundings and made the base of the waterfall glitter, there was a silhouette of a girl who was dancing under it. Her figure was perfect, like that of an angel or goddess, and the way she moved took Naruto's breath away. Yes, he had seen people dancing before and it was from a distance, but he had never seen something so beautiful. Each move the girl made stopped his breath for a few seconds. If there were angels, she just had to be one of them. He felt like he could write a poem on those elegant and breathtakingly beautiful moves of hers. He didn't know when his mouth gasped open, but he couldn't take his eyes off the spectacle happening before him, even if he wanted to at this moment. In another life, another world, Naruto would have no idea who this angel was until he found out that the woman he loved and the angelic dancer were one and the same, although he would declare her to be the most beautiful girl in the world. But this was another life, another time in which Naruto already had seen Hinata without her jacket and had a rough idea of her figure, and he knew exactly who it was that was dancing like a goddess under that waterfall. He didn't know when his eyes became teary. Hinata, a soft whisper escaped from his lips. He felt like he could just watch her for eternity and wouldn't have a single regret. Well, at that moment, he remembered her smile, her way of speaking, and just how nice all of it felt, and now he knew that she was the most beautiful girl in the world for him. No one else even came close. When he decided that he just wanted to continue watching her, that was when his mind began having some clarity on certain emotional matters. Is this what it feels like when someone is in love? Perhaps. I still don't know how love works, but I am sure that I just want her by my side so that I can just keep watching her, hear her speak and see her smile, and I would do anything and go to any limits for that. And if that's love, then I love Hinata-chan. Yes, I do. Hinata-chan is so brave, cute, and beautiful, like a goddess, my goddess. I love her. The blonde boy decided he still needed some clarity, a small bit of clarity, but hopefully he would get it by the time they got back to Konoha, and then he could open up his heart to her and present it as an offering of worship. Then Naruto spotted something on the bank of the pond created by the waterfall. He saw that cream-colored jacket and those black pants Hinata wore, elegantly folded and kept there, and not only that, but he also spotted the black t-shirt she would wear under her jacket, folded and kept over the jacket too. It took a moment for the implication to hit. He had a nosebleed and his face became fully red, imitating Hinata's blushing to a frighteningly accurate degree. I hope a day will come when she would let me see her in that state, without that jacket, and that shirt too. Hey wait, what the hell am I thinking? She is my best friend too, and this might not be right, but someday I need to talk to her about these thoughts. I am kinda sure she will help me out without getting mad, that's just how she is. Naruto thought to himself, one thing was for sure, Hinata wasn't in any immediate danger. He subtly made a clone and had it transformed into a small rock, with orders to dispel as soon as Hinata was done and was on her way back. Then the blonde quietly climbed down and made his way back, placing some clones transformed into various objects to make sure that Hinata made her way back to Fu's place safely, with Hinata having no idea that her performance air practice had an audience, one unlikely viewer who was far more than just impressed, and going forward, she wouldn't regret it at all. 3 days after Team 6's arrival in Taki, Shikaku had gone over to Shibuki's place to get the document a young village leader would be sending in reply to the Hokage's letter. He and his team would be leaving Taki in at most 3 hours. So, the head Jonin of Konoha had allowed his students to have some time off with their new friend from Taki. There is still time for them to learn the official stuff. Also, his students had managed to complete the task set for them, i.e. drilling air bullets for Naruto and lightning ball jutsu for Hinata, just the previous night. Shikaku was indeed intrigued by Naruto's expression at that moment. While the blonde was ecstatic for being able to learn a new jutsu and improve his chakra control, there was this secondary expression, which the experienced and intelligent Nara was barely able to make out, an expression that showed as if the boy had finally gotten clarity about something very important and at the same time was a bit nervous about something. I can't help my eyes being able to catch those deeper feelings these kids try to hide, and then my brain can't just help work out what those expressions mean and the reasons behind them, troublesome indeed. I can certainly conclude that the boy has realized his own feelings for Hinata. Good for her, that would give her a confidence boost, moral support, and also give Naruto a family. I mean, yes, our team is definitely going to be a family, but it's not that kind of family. And unlike what many would think, I think love is not a setback for a shinobi to grow, in fact it can be just as strong an incentive to grow stronger. It is for that very reason, Team 6 was created, so I am going to back them up as they notch up their relationship from friendship into a romantic one. Although things could become troublesome, but I think the effort would be worth it. Shikaku thought as he waited for Shibuki to finish preparing the document that was to be carried to the Hokage. Then there would be some tiresome negotiations and stuff, which would require Shikaku to take a nap once those things were done, but unfortunately, he didn't have the time to rest. That's something which had to wait till nightfall, when the team would make camp. Troublesome indeed. The Nara thought with a sigh. Meanwhile, near the waterfalls, close to Fu's place. You will be leaving today? Fu'll miss you. Fu will be lonely again. The Nanabi Jinchuriki said with a downcast expression. Hinata and Naruto both put their hands on her shoulder. I am extremely sorry Fu, but we have to go. I promise we will write you letters. And send training tips too. We will visit this place again, and also you can come to Konoha as well. Our villages are on good terms from what I hear, so it won't be that big of a deal. Naruto reassured. Why yeah. We will keep in touch, Fu, and we will miss you too. Hinata stated. The green-haired girl only nodded in response. She realized that her new friends had to leave. But at least, they had ensured that there were some people for her in this world. She could always take solace in that fact. Then in order to lighten the mood, the 3 kids gossiped about some different stuff, especially regarding the various pranks Naruto had pulled in Konoha. Meanwhile, some 10 kilometers away, the team from Suna was making their way towards Tokigakure. They were on full alert since they had to sneak into the village. Unfortunately for them, they had to rely on Gaara to guide them to the Nanabi Jinchuriki, since none of the rest were any good at being censors. To their confusion and slight horror, as they got closer to their destination, the aura around Gaara became darker and darker, and now the Redeed was having a sadistic smile on his face. Baki's instincts were screaming at him to simply abandon the mission, grab the Redeed, and retreat to Suna at full speed. He just knew that soon the mission would take unexpected turns. But he just couldn't do it. The Kazukiage would be harsh should he return without completing the mission just on the basis of some gut feelings. He would surely lose his job at the least, and that would mean that the Sand siblings could end up with someone crueler or even worse, they could be punished as well. Tamari was also having similar thoughts. Her brain was telling her that this mission was a failure from the very beginning if Gaara's expression upon hearing about the Nanabi Jinchuriki was anything to go by. She knew that her little brother may not bother capturing the Jinchuriki alive, she was sure he would try to kill her, and that would jeopardize everything. But she was too inexperienced and junior in rank to make her opinion known and get the mission aborted. She had no idea why her father was increasingly becoming more sadistic and power-hungry. However, all she could do right now was to begrudgingly continue with the mission. I can't help it, Kankuro. I am just feeling nervous and afraid. I have this feeling that things will be going haywire very soon. Tamari whispered to her puppeteer brother, who simply nodded. I am also having the same feeling, sis, but there is nothing we can do right now. It's unlikely that Baki-sensei would heed to our request to abort the mission, and even if he does, back home, Dad would come down hard upon us and especially Gaara for failing the mission. Kankuro whispered, making Tamari sigh. I'm certain that this mission is going to fail, regardless of whether we proceed or not, and that makes us receiving a punishment almost an inevitability. Only if someone with power bothered listening to me once. I have been screaming at Dad to let Gaara have some sort of a normal life for years, but he just kept up with those attempts, Tamari whispered, shaking her head in frustration and anger at her own helplessness to remedy the situation with their brother in any way. And then, just as she had predicted, things did start going haywire, and chaotically so at that. Gaara licked his lips in anticipation as he began chuckling sadistically. Yes, she is close by, mother, you'll soon be tasting her blood. I will make you happy, mother. Gaara uttered sadistically, making all of his companions flinch in fear. Our mother senses the beetle as well as the fox. Mother wants both their blood. Give their blood to mother. Be a good boy, my child. The monster's voice in the Reteed's head said to him enticingly. Gee, Gaara, wait. Tamari said, trying to alleviate the situation from getting any worse. Gaara. Our job is to get the Jinchuriki. Ali Baki tried to say in admonishment, but then a wall of sand knocked the three of them back as the youngest member of their team vanished via sand shunshin. Shit. Tamari screamed. Baki-sensei. We have to follow him. We have to stop him before he does something crazy. The shinobi of Taki, they might kill Gaara if he isn't stopped. The eldest daughter of the Kazekage screamed in horror. The half-veiled jonin of Suna nodded. After Gaara, now. He ordered, and the three immediately dashed after the Reteed, hoping sincerely to somehow stop the situation from going completely and utterly out of hand. 10 minutes later, Naruto, Hinata and Fu were casually chatting, totally unaware of the danger rapidly approaching them. None of them had bothered to be on guard. Fu. Be alert, we are about to be attacked. The Nanabi warned from Fu's mindscape and her eyes widened. And then when I put that goldfish in Jiji's hat, Naruto stopped suddenly, seeing Fu's changed expression. Fu. What's wrong? He asked in concern. To Mei he gave a warning, we might be in trouble. Fu said with her eyes still widened. Hinata-chan. Take a look around, will you? Naruto immediately asked. Hi. Byakugan. His soon-to-be girlfriend acknowledged, activating her Dojutsu. As soon as she did so, her eyes widened in fear. Naruto-kun. Fu-san. Dodge. She screamed, jumping upon Naruto and taking him rolling down with her, as Fu immediately took flight. Less than a second later, a huge wave of sand crashed over where the three were sitting and destroyed all the plants and bushes there. The three genin hadn't seen an attack of that scale till that point in their lives, so they were fully taken by surprise and watched with wide eyes. What the hell was that? Naruto said in a surprised stutter as the sand receded into the gourd of a boy of even smaller frame than theirs who seemed to be barely of their age, which only compounded the surprise of the kids. But then Naruto took a look at the eyes of their surprise attacker and found the hints of something he only knew too well: loneliness, despair, scorn, hatred, in short everything he had experienced in Konoha until Hinata defended him from Mizuki's Fuma Shuriken. And then he also felt the Kyuubi acting up inside his gut. The fox, he's acting up. This means that boy he's Naruto began saying. Jinchuriki, Fu said as she landed by their side. He is, according to Chimei, he's the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, Shukaku of the desert. He's from Sunagakur. Hinata said, taking a good look at the headband of the redeeded boy, which was tied to the belt holding the gourd with his shirt. Mother will have your blood. Gaara said sadistically, raising his hand, and again, sand began rushing towards the three genin before him. Fuck. Naruto cursed as he dodged the attack, so did Hinata. Thankfully with her wings, Fu was able to dodge the sand rather easily. What the hell do you mean by mother? Naruto shouted at Gaara as he backflipped from the sand, attacking him. What the hell have we done to you? He shouted again but didn't get anything in reply. Just then Baki and the rest of the Sand siblings got there, and needless to say they were horrified to see just what exactly was going on. Along with their intended target, Gaara was attacking two more genins from Konoha. It didn't take them even a moment to realize that should anything happen to the genins from Konoha, it would lead to an international scandal. Also, the way Gaara was acting, letting loose some of the Ichibi's chakra, it would soon alert the shinobi from Taki, and then it would be very difficult to keep things from escalating into a full-blown war. All they could now do was to help protect the shinobi Gaara was attacking, their mission be damned. The three immediately jumped to the side of Naruto, Hinata and Fu. Who couldn't help get on edge seeing more shinobi from Suna. Don't panic, we mean you no harm. Gaara, he belongs to our team, but he appears to have lost control. Baki said, trying to be as reassuring as possible. He has great power, which he can't always control. Please forgive us. We really didn't mean any harm. Tamari said pleadingly. As all of them continued dodging the sand and spears made of it. To their horror, with the passage of time, Gaara seemed to become more and more impatient, and therefore the speed and tenacity of his attacks increased. Just as Fu was flying away from a wave of sand, a narrow column of it rose up and caught her leg. Shit. Fu. Naruto shouted in concern. Gaara's face developed a grin. Oh yes mother. I got one, mother. I'll be offering her blood to you soon. He said, and the sand holding Fu's legs, slammed her on the ground brutally, then picked her up and slammed her again. Summoning jutsu. Quick beheading dance. Tamari said, biting her finger and smearing her blood on her now unsealed battle fan, and swung it violently, releasing violent gusts of wind and a weasel, along with that which traveled towards the sand holding Fu, as she screamed in pain due to the sand, tightening its hold on her leg. The weasels and the violent gusts of wind attacked the sand, and the hold was broken. By that time, Kankuro had already unsealed the black ant puppet, the uninspired lie named Karori, and had it reach Fu and bring her back to safety. But nobody had the time to even confirm if she was okay, since Gaara became enraged by his prey being taken away from him. Sand again rushed at the 6 people before him, and they dodged again. Sand spears. Gaara yelled as the wave of sand took the form of several spears and rushed towards his prey. Wind style. Wind blade jutsu. Baki said, going through hand signs as a blade of wind appeared in his hand. He used it to cut through the sand spears, attacking them with astonishing agility and speed. Now that's something I want to learn. Naruto thought. It does seem wind jutsus work on him. The blonde boy commented. By that time, he had understood that Tamari and Baki were wind types like him. If we manage to knock him out, we will be able to stop this fight and survive, otherwise with his Biju giving him this stupid amount of power, we may not survive in the long run. Naruto yelled. How do you know he has a Biju inside him? Kankuro asked in surprise as Hinata face palmed. She couldn't really blame Naruto for it, he had spoken at the heat of the moment. Oh. Well, I guess if we stop him, we can talk about it after that. Now is not the best time to talk after all. Naruto responded. Alright, but do remember to tell us how you got to know that Gaara is a Jinchuriki, it's really important. Baki said in a serious tone as cut through the sand attacking them. Fine. Naruto acknowledged. Let's hit him with our best moves then. Wind style it will be. But first, let's increase the numbers. Shadow clone jutsu. And about 100 Narutos appeared at the clearing, surprising everyone there, except for Hinata. Let's do this. Naruto said as he began going through hand signs. As soon as Baki recognized that the blonde Konoha genin was going to use a wind jutsu to attack, he began going through hand signs of his own, and Tamari prepared herself to use the quick beheading dance again, knowing that with this attack, she will be out of chakra, but at the moment, no one had a better alternative. Wind style. Drilling air bullets. Naruto and his clones yelled, releasing several bullets of wind from their mouths. Wind style. Vacuum serial waves. Baki released several wave-shaped blasts of wind from his mouth. Summoning jutsu. Quick beheading dance. Tamari said, smearing her blood on her battle fan and swinging it at full force, putting all of her remaining chakra into the attack. Come back, little brother. She pleaded as she swung the fan. Little brother Naruto and Hinata thought in a bit of confusion, but the attack was definitely begun regardless. Several wind jutsus powering up each other ended up creating something of an S-class wind attack. The sheer power of the attack was able to break trees, stopping the sand, all the while creating nothing short of a true storm that hit Gaara with full force. But just before the attack could actually hit, the redeeded boy managed to encase himself within a cocoon of sand. Once the attack went away and the dust settled down, to the despair of the 6 fighting Gaara, the redeed was mostly unharmed. What the hell? Just how did he manage to survive that? Naruto yelled in frustration as all his clones dispelled in puffs of smoke. Sorry boy, but Gaara's defense is pretty strong. Its only weakness is fire, but unfortunately I am not a fire affinity and can't use any fire jutsu strong enough. Baki admitted begrudgingly. Just then a shadow got connected with Gaara and stopped him. Just then, Shikaku appeared there via Shunshin. He was able to sense the huge amount of chakra Gaara was leaking as he was walking towards Fu's hut from Shibuki's residence and had immediately made haste to make sure that his students were okay. Nara Shikaku Dono? Baki said in a bit of surprise as well as respect. After all, the Nara clan head was pretty famous all over the world for his wit and intelligence. Baki, the Kazukija's trusted aide. Mind telling me what are you doing here and why exactly is Asuna genin attacking my students? Shikaku sternly asked. Well, you see Shikaku Dono, Baki tried explaining, but Naruto cut him off. That guy is a Jinchuriki and he seems to have totally lost it somehow. The blonde yelled. Shikaku raised an eyebrow at that and strengthened his hold on Gaara. Now that he's stopped, Hinata, will you try knocking him out? Shikaku ordered. Hi sensei. The Hyuga acknowledged and dashed for the redeed, intent on delivering some Gyuukin strikes and knocking him out for good. But unfortunately for her, just as she was about to deliver her strike, a wall of sand arose and stopped her in her tracks, but before the sand could touch her however, in an impressive showing of agility, Hinata dodged it and fell back. So this Gaara doesn't even need to move to manipulate the sand. It seems, for some reason, the sand Gaara controls is semi-sentient, it comes to his defense even when not ordered to do so, interesting. Shikaku said in realization, continuing his hold on Gaara. Sensei. Baki-san said that we can use some fire jutsus against his sand, but none of us know one. Naruto yelled again. Then use explosive tags instead. Hinata and Fu and the kid with war paint can launch explosive tags, while Baki-san and Naruto can use their wind attacks as I hold the target down. Shikaku laid down. Pankuro was internally celebrating that someone correctly realized he was wearing war paint not makeup. Why didn't I think about that earlier? Everyone thought with a sweat drop, as the solution was indeed quite simple. Alright. Naruto said, making 100 copies of him again as he and Baki prepped themselves to launch another massive wind attack. Wind style. Drilling air bullets. Naruto and his clones carried out the attack again. Wind style. Serial vacuum waves. Baki launched his attack as well. While Hinata on the ground and Fu from the air launched as many kunai attached with explosive tags as they could. The wind propelled the kunai forward at binding speeds. Gaara was covered in a cocoon of sand just as the attack hit, but then all the explosive tags went off and the wind only fanned the flames. Just then, Shikaku's shadow disconnected due to the sheer force of wind that acted on Gaara. Shit, this could be bad. The Nara thought. As the dust died down, everyone looked at the spot where Gaara stood with interest. The dust died down to reveal the sand cocoon having been half destroyed and the rest of it having been converted to glass. Surprisingly, Gaara was still standing, though he appeared to have been on shaky footing. Hinata saw an opportunity. Then Naruto-kun. She called upon her love and as their eyes matched, they were ready to implement the strategy. The two genin rushed towards Gaara and closed the distance as quickly as possible, with Naruto having made 5 shadow clones to assist them, and together they engaged him into jutsu, which Gaara had little if any skill in. Unfortunately, for the first 10 minutes, neither Naruto, nor his clones, nor Hinata were able to land a solid hit. The semi-sentient sand kept protecting Gaara, although the redeed himself was quite a bit winded down and his shaky footing was growing worse by the minute. However, after 7 minutes of constant struggle, Hinata was able to find an opening and was able to land a few brutal Gyuukin strikes, which should have been able to knock Gaara out, but that didn't happen, surprising the upcoming couple. Instead, the spots where Hinata had hit crumbled into dust. In armor of sand. Hinata said in realization. Just then, Kankuro began using the crow puppet, which bore an equally uninspired name. Karasu, to attack Gaara, with its blades laced with a sedative. But even that was not fully effective since even if Crow was able to slash Gaara, the slashes only landed upon the sand armor. This isn't enough. Naruto said as he and Hinata had to fall back. Just then all of those present were startled as they began hearing a telepathic conversation. I feel really bad for Shikaku, Kurama. He ended up truly unfortunate. Although we have been very unlucky ever since the humans started considering us as nothing more than either weapons or monsters. But Shikaku, he's had it really bad. Jame? Fu said out loud with wide eyes. Who the hell's Kurama? Oh wait a minute, the Kyuubi, his name, Naruto whispered in realization. Just then another voice made itself known telepathically. TSK. Humans, that despicable species. I really can't believe just how the old man had such high hopes of them and how they ended up. I am sure the old man would be weeping in afterlife watching the moral degradation of these idiots. These fools who think of nothing other than power. Especially those with the red eyes, the eyes that actually came from the old man himself. And our little brother is just one of the victims of this deranged species' lust of power. From what I can make out, the Tanuki has become crazy and bloodthirsty, and I say that knowing he was already quite a bit more vicious than the rest of us. That's coming from me with all the crap I became known for, and he was a bit out there as well, but it worsened due to not being able to sleep as a result of the abomination of a seal he is placed in. Although mine places me inside a cage, it at least allows me to sleep. And this brat is at least tolerable. A voice said from what Naruto was sure was his own head. Hey Kyuubi. Kurama. Oh, so you can hear me now, brat. Yes, I am Kurama, the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune. The monster that ravaged your village and gave your yondaime hell before sending him there. The fox tauntingly said. But from the dialogue that Naruto had already heard between Kurama and Jame, he was already sure of one thing. Shut up. Don't act like the monster people make you out to be. It's bullshit from what I heard of your conversation with Jame, the Nanabi. One thing is for sure, you are not a monster. Monsters don't feel sympathy for others, even their own kind. Naruto yelled mentally as he suddenly found himself inside a gutter. His eyes widened like saucers upon looking at the huge cage, and then gradually the legendary Kyuubi no Kitsune made itself visible. Naruto's eyes widened further. "Why you are Kurama the Kyuubi no Kitsune?" he said in surprise. "Yes I am." Kurama replied with a snarl, but he was a bit taken aback with Naruto's expression. He wasn't afraid, neither did he show any signs of disgust. "You don't hate me, even though I was the one who was the cause of your hero, the Namikaze's death," Kurama yelled again, trying to taunt and intimidate the blonde boy. "People have hated me for over all these years, since I had you inside my gut. But I don't want to be like them. I need to understand why. Why did you attack the village? Why did the Yondaime have to fight you and seal you inside me? Why are you so angry at humans?" "Yeah, I can understand that one a bit though. I would have been pretty angry if someone put me inside such a dark cage for 12 years with no one to talk to or even see. It's been pretty lonely here for you, isn't it?" "I guess that's true. I am sorry, really sorry for that. I know how bad loneliness can be," Naruto said softly. Kurama raised his eyebrows. "Is this boy trying to become close with me so that he can use my power later on?" "No, I can't feel it. His intentions are pure, there is no negative intent, no deception or lust for power behind it. Nothing whatsoever." Kurama thought to himself as he thought back to the years of Naruto's childhood he had seen. All those years of loneliness, scorn and hatred. He knew this boy was quite pure-hearted. Kurama had the ability to recognize it in people. Even Mito and Kushina, as much as he hated them, he recognized they contained him not out of power lust, but out of a sense of duty. "Is there anything I can do to make you feel better?" Naruto asked, mostly in contemplation. Making Kurama raise his eyebrows again. "And the Ichibi Shikaku if I have guessed right." Gaara seems really troubled, I can see it in his eyes, it's like he is literally begging and crying for help from inside. "And from what you guys were talking, it seems the Ichibi is very troubled as well, so both of them need help somehow." Naruto mused again. "There is nothing you can do about it right now, neither can I do anything about it. The seal that is holding Shikaku is nothing short of a complete abomination. It doesn't allow the Tanuki to sleep, and sleep depravity can drive anyone insane. In his insanity, Shikaku isn't letting that brat sleep, making him insane, and now both have become pretty thirsty for blood. Shikaku he was always a bit crazy, and he had this inferiority complex towards us, especially me, since he is weakest of all Biju, and I am the strongest. Now with this added insanity, his jealousy and inferiority has turned into bloodlust. He is now out for mine and Shime's blood, which means he wants you and that girl Fu dead. The seal seems to be improperly containing him if what I believe to be the case is correct. Shukaku's mind is constantly connected to Gaara's, and his power is seeping into Gaara's network without a mixing reservoir or area to allow Gaara to make it part of his own. Whether both of these are by design or not doesn't matter now, but whoever is responsible for such flaws should be raked over hot coals. And there is nothing we can do about it, as in order to do anything, we have to shit. Fuck. Dodge. Kurama suddenly yelled, stopping his explanation before Naruto could understand what was happening. "Naruto-kun." The girl he loved yelled, violently pushing him out of the path of an attack. Just the blonde found himself back in the real world, only to see some shuriken made of sand slam into his love's body, including some vital spots. "Hinata." Naruto yelled in horror, but somehow the Hyuga still managed to land on her feet. But Gaara wasn't done yet. He made a huge quantity of sand rush towards Naruto. "Not under my watch." Hinata yelled, again pushing Naruto out of the line of attack again. She also almost cleared it, with the keyword being almost. The sand got her right leg. Gaara grinned, closing his fist. "If you want to suffer before dying, then so be it," the insane boy stated. Sand burial. And the sand encasing Hinata's leg compressed, shattering her bones and breaking it completely. Ay. The Hyuga yelled in unbearable and excruciating pain. Naruto froze, just outright froze, so did everyone else. No, Hinata-chan, no, I can't live without you," Naruto thought in horror as he saw Hinata bleed from her chest, as due to the sand shuriken slammed there, as well as her now shattered leg. No, not her, anyone but her, stop it. The blonde helplessly thought as his body failed to move, and he trembled in horror. "Snap out of it. If you want your vixen to survive, you have to take Gaara down first. But don't let him fall asleep, if he does the Tanuki will come out and then none of us will be able to do anything," Kurama warned, but Naruto couldn't fully get back to his senses. Just then, a shadow crept up to Gaara and began strangulating him. Shikaku's expression had hardened, he was going for the kill. "No, please don't kill him." Tamari pleaded with difficulty due to her current chakra-drained state. But the Nara paid no heed, he was pissed off beyond limits due to the current state of his student and was also sure that the Redeed couldn't be allowed to do as he pleased any further. Even Baki seemed to agree. "Sensei, stop, don't kill," Hinata stated with a lot of difficulty due to her current state. This got both Shikaku's attention as broke Naruto out of his stupor. Shikaku sighed and loosened his hold of Gaara's neck but didn't release him out of the shadow's bind. Please stop it already, Gaara, please come back to us, we really can't take it anymore. Tamari pleaded in tears. Stop it, little brother, it's enough. She pleaded again. Boy, damn Tanuki. I know you're in there. I know how you are crazy for not being able to sleep, but I also know that you still have some sense left. Stop already, I promise we will find some way to make things better for you. Kurama said in telepathy. Shukaku, you need to stop. Please think for a moment how sad the old man would be seeing how you are tormenting this kid. We know how you feel inferior to us, you think we look down upon you, but that's not true. We all love you, even Kurama does as well, even if he's a dick about it most of the time, you are our sibling. Please stop already, it's enough. Chimei said telepathically. Finally, Naruto began walking towards Gaara. You know what? Your attack, it has hurt the one I love the most severely. She's I don't even know right now if she's going to be alright. I know that I won't be able to live without her. Naruto-kun. He said he loves me. Hinata thought as tears escaped from her eyes, while Fu tried to nurse her injury. But I can't bring myself to even consider killing you, you're like me. I know how it feels, the loneliness, the scorn, the hatred. I know it all too well. I know how it feels to be called a demon, a monster. Trust me, I know because I am just like you, I also hold a Biju inside me, like you do. The blonde continued. So he's also a Jinchuriki. Thought Kankuro, Tamari, and Baki as Gaara kept staring at the blonde boy walking towards him. Hey, you can stop now, see your siblings are crying for you. Stop it for their sake at least. Naruto softly said as Gaara's gaze fell upon the crying form his siblings. They are see crying for me. But they also think of me as a monster like everyone else. Gaara said with an expressionless face, trying to make peace with the fact that his siblings might actually love him. So, you think everyone thinks of you as a monster? Naruto asked softly again. I also thought that until Hinata-chan and Iruka-sensei showed up. Gaara, there are people who can see beyond the monster you hold, your siblings, I can tell they don't think of you as a monster, they care for you. They just want their little brother back. Can't you give them a chance? Gaara actually got teary-eyed, his mind showed him the flashbacks of his moments with his uncle, who explained to him what love really is. But why Yashimera said No1W wants me. Gaara whispered to himself. By that time, Tamari and Kankuro had rushed to Gaara and had enveloped him in a hug, both were crying. It's not true, Gaara, we want you, we love you, you are our brother. Both siblings said in tears. Understanding that Gaara won't cause any more trouble, Shikaku released him from the binding of his shadow. Naruto then rushed to the girl he loved, whom Fu was holding. The Hyuga was barely conscious and in excruciating pain. Hinata-chan. Hinata-chan. Why? Why did you? Naruto said as collapsed to his knees before her. For her part, Hinata could only give her beloved a soft and affectionate smile. She thought that she wouldn't live for long, so she decided that at least in those final moments, she should come clean. Because I love you, I really love you, Naruto-kun. She said, trying to reach his cheeks with her trembling hand. Naruto caught it and placed it where she wanted it to be. I love you too, Hinata-chan, hang on for me, I can't live without you. Naruto said in between tears. Even in unbearable pain, Hinata's heart managed to find a sense of absolute calm and happiness. Finally her feelings were reciprocated and her dream had finally come true. I want to go out with you, I want to stay with you forever, please stay alive for me, please don't leave me. Naruto pleaded and the Hyuga didn't have any words to reassure him with. She wasn't really sure if she would ever make it. She didn't want Naruto to be alone again, now that he had explicitly stated that he wanted to be with her, she couldn't hold her tears anymore. Jonin could only stand and watch the interaction in silence. He had no one but himself to blame for what had happened and was happening at the moment. I could have trained them harder, better. I could have been here with them when the attack happened. I could have done something. What happened here? Shibuki asked as he and some of his aides made it to the site, which was a battlefield less than a couple of minutes ago. Now the shinobi from Suna got nervous, really nervous. And what are shinobi from Suna doing here in Taki territory without permission? Shibuki asked again, looking at Baki, who was trying to catch his breath. Shibuki don't know, I can explain. Baki replied as Shibuki hardened his looks and his shinobi took stances, but some of them actually had their sights set on Fu. This village, they really seem to hate Fu, poor girl, really troublesome. Shikaku thought. Then please do, right now. Shibuki ordered. Baki sighed, he had to come up with an excuse, but if the shinobi from Konoha didn't validate his statement, he and his team would be in trouble, big trouble, they could face immediate execution. I guess, considering the present situation, we can't keep Suna's secret a secret anymore, at least if we don't want these kids to be executed, thereby starting something that would quickly spiral out of control. That would be too troublesome. Shikaku said, allowing his features to relax a bit.